What is up? What is up? What is up? It is your boy, RC Apologist, and this is Ask Reformed Christian Apologist number 84. Yes, I had to just say it like that because I have lost my mind. All right. That being said and done, we are here with another episode of Ask RC Apologist, and this is number 84. So Ask Reformed Christian Apologist. I keep having to check to see if I have said the past name, which I was trying to get away from the Christian anarchist name, but nope, we managed to get clear from that. Now, this is going to be an episode where we deal with answering questions, and I actually fixed something in terms of the description link. Now, if you look into the description link, you'll notice along with the links, you'll now have a thing where it says how to ask questions. So usually what I say, submit them in the live chat, DM me on the social medias for the link, and then of course Discord questions on our Discord server. You just do that and you should be good to go for asking your questions here on Ask RC Apologist, Ask Reformed Christian Apologist, number 84. Now we're going to go ahead and get some links out to some of those that had reserved their seat, or that have been able to get that sort of a thing to where they can ask questions. So I'm sending as much links as I can to some people that I know, and that if they want to participate and join in, and we'll see where that goes. We have Alpha in the chat saying, hi, hello there, Alpha. And who are you? What are you? Look like a kind of cartoonish character. Wait a minute. Zakra. Where have I seen that before? Oh, well, all I know is that seems friendly. So that should be good enough reason. All right. And welcome to our first guest, Religious Fanboy, who has just joined up with us. All right. So, and then we got room 817 in the live chat. All right. And the people are coming in and they're flooding the place. So let's get this started. Let's get this party started. Yeah. All right. Enough of my terrible singing. Now, of course, I'm going to just reiterate. If y'all need to know how to ask questions, want to know how to ask a question for the show, check the description. And you'll just be able to see the thing where it says how to ask questions, and you'll be able to get all that. So we're going to go ahead and get to some of the questions that are already in our Discord. And, well, technically we're going to answer one from Hangouts because apparently this guy forgets how to do how to answer on our or ask on our Discord. So Marshall Mathers asks, if God is all just, why does he kill massive amounts of people throughout the Bible for the sins of one? Example, God murdered, key phrase that he uses there, murdered 70,000 Israelites by inflicting them with disease because of David conducting a census. So this is according to our friend here, Marshall. And then, of course, the other example is that God puts all of mankind to death because of Adam's sin. And note, it doesn't make the distinction of all mankind to spiritual death is the key concept here. So this isn't a issue of killing, but this is an issue, but still a punishment. And the issue is this. If God is all just, why does he do this to people throughout the Bible for the sins of one individual? And the reason is because God is just, and he's the one who established the law and is the source of the law, as well as the source of the penalty of what happens when you break the law. So in other words, he establishes the law, what's right or wrong, and then what happens if you break the law? He also determines the punishment and the penalty. And if God is the one who is the objective source of the law in terms of the, him being just, and he's following through with the law that he established, then obviously that is by definition just if he's following through with the law. So in order for you to determine if it being just and say that God is not just in doing this, then you must say that there is another source, there is another final authority besides God that is, the authority and the final matter on the law and morality at this point. And if you're going to say that, then you're basically saying that something is greater than God in determining morality and moral values, and such. So this is where people would need to be careful, especially considering that the person who asked this question is a Muslim. That the same criticism that is being used will be applied to the Quran in several places where it says that, in executing certain people for the sin of Sodom, to throw them off a rooftop is recorded by Ibn Abbas. This is in the Hadith. And then when you, of course, have the Quran, you could have done the peace treaties. Allah could have done a peace treaty, but why didn't he just decide to, do that? And why does he then decide just kill these people instead of doing a peace treaty? Some people will say that that's unjust. I mean, and then there's the issue of Qadar, which people think that the doctrine of Qadar in Islam is a totally inhumane and unjust system. And that to me is just, I can at least understand where the Muslims are coming at with Qadar and the various other things that they will point at in Islam and the Quran. But in doing so, I will also do the same thing for my own religion in terms of determining the standard of, the law. And the person who is the standard of the law is God himself. So in order to say that God's doing something unjust in this is to say that there is someone besides God out there who is more just and who is a source of authority and authority on the law, which means you're going to something else instead of God. And that would be a problem in terms of idolatry and such. And here comes Tom Hansen saying that I'm a bully, which, of course, here comes the lies again from our favorite guy. Because this is a guy who claims he has not received a message, even though he just apparently refuses to log into his Ronald Deal account. I have access to the Ronald Deal account, and it just doesn't show up. All right, Snow Princess. And yes, room 817. I'm still in the contact with the people who made Dragon Ball Super. Anyway, so that's the answer to the question for, Marshall, is that, God is just. And that in order to say that it's something else, then you're basically saying, well, there's something better than God. That's ultimately what you're saying. Okay, so let's move along. For those of you, well, then I'm just going to have to call you a liar, Tom. So going on, if anyone's got a question in the YouTube chat, feel free to submit. We're going to go ahead and go to Religious Fanboy. Religious, how are you doing? Fanboy, are you there?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you good?
Sorry, I was struggling to get the mic and camera thing to pop up to unmute my mic. I had actually before the podcast, I had recorded my Jonah chapter 2 Bible study, and there was a phrase in Jonah chapter 2 verse 2 that I was wondering if you could tell me the definition of, just because I hadn't seen that word before.
Which one?
I can't. I'm not quite sure if I'm pronouncing it right. It might be pronounced Sheol.
Sheol.
It's spelled in my Bible. It's spelled SHEOL.
Yeah, Sheol. Mm-hmm. Right. So
I was wondering if you know what that meant.
Yeah, Sheol is I'm assuming you're using a translation that's not the King James, right?
It's New King James.
Right. So what they're doing is they're utilizing a term and a concept that's the actual Hebrew word. So Sheol is the Hebrew.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And so what you'll have, there's not a lot of places that do a good job in depicting the area. Um, but I'm going to display a picture that kind of gives us a basic understanding of how they would have viewed this. Now, if you also have to keep in mind that the the same word is used, though, in a different translation in the Greek. So if you go to the New Testament and you find a place that says Hades or Hades, depending on how you want to translate it, you will have it being, that's basically it. That's the same thing. And you'll find that when you go into the Septuagint version of those verses, that it'll read instead of a Hades. All right, so here's what we got in the graphic here. So right here we have the split. This is Sheol or Hades if you get the Greek. Now, right here we have two places: paradise or Abraham's bosom, and the place of torment. This whole thing is Sheol itself, and it's a place in the Old Testament before Jesus, where the wicked and those who are believers that followed the Old Testament would go. They both went to the same place, except in different compartments. For those in the Abraham's bosom paradise area, that's where the Old Testament believers who were faithful to Yahweh went. And then you have here where the unbelievers go upon their death. And those who remain here, who are here, will remain here until it says, as in the verse, until death and Hades, which is the Greek version of Sheol, the Greek word for Sheol, are casted into the lake of fire. So in other words, the people that are in this area will eventually be casted and judged into the lake of fire. But the time will come when that happens. So what you're seeing with Sheol is that the word Sheol is referring to, that means the grave, but there's a much stronger emphasis on that and what it means by the grave, because some people say, well, Sheol then just means a grave site, very game, that's it. No, this is what the Hebraic concept is and what they understood the grave to be. Is more than just simply, being buried and such, is that you're going to a place that's split into two components. And that's why those in Abraham's bosom and in paradise, when Jesus told the man, you'll be with me in paradise, they went there. Jesus was there for 3 days and 3 nights. And then he rose and he took those people with him into heaven. And that's now why people go to heaven when they die, if they are believers in Christ. But those who die now and they don't go directly to hell immediately. They go to the place of torment, where they will be judged until the great white throne judgment, and will be casted into the lake of fire, as the Bible says. So that's what Sheol is.
Oh, thank you very much. I was confused. I thought it meant like whale or fish for a second, but then like when you said it, I was like, oh, that's what it's. So thanks.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so thank you for that question. By the way, it's a first come, first serve basis, so whoever comes in next will be able to get their question asked. And I see Zigzag is in the chat. Zigzag, would you like the link to come in? Just make sure you have a Google Plus account to join up, and make sure you use Hangouts, and we should be set to go. All right, so let's see here. Just gotta reply to someone who says that, I'm a stupid Calvinist, so gotta at least show some love there. All right. Because I think, Zigzag is on a thing there. This is funny. This is classic right here. RCA, what should we do if it turns out you're a child molester? You have to have proof. There's actually a good video that I saw the other day from a guy who goes by the name of Bill Cassidy, saying that, don't be afraid when they start throwing accusations, because if they don't got no proof, then you're all right. My friend, I'll tell you something right now. Will have zero proof of something of me being a child molester. I don't like children. I don't like anybody in terms of sexual orientation wise. I am asexual, as I have stated. I find no sexual enjoyment from anything, really. And so that's why I prefer that I'm probably going to live by myself alone for the rest of my life. So, I mean, you can make those accusations all you want, but I mean, it's just not true. And yeah, as Snow Princess says right there, is trying to harm another person's reputation without facts is bullying. So until you can provide facts, you know, just that's why I'm gonna have to just put him in timeout. Because what bothers me is that he says this. I got a nephew, two nephews, one that just got born about 3 or 4 months ago, and is trying to state all this stuff. And if I ever saw a child molester get near my nephews, I'm gonna have to go off on somebody. I swear they were gonna have to take me to jail because I'm probably about to almost kill somebody. I mean, that's how southern and down in the core I am when it comes to protecting people and my distaste for child molestation. And so for Tom to just do this just shows, again, evidence that Tom has been a troll this entire time. And when I thought I was going to give him the benefit of a doubt, when I was going to give Ronald here, that's actually who Tom is, Ronald, the benefit of the doubt that he wasn't a troll, he all of a sudden starts playing stupid. Because here's the thing. You say all this thing about evidence. All right. Let's go here. We're going to pull up your account. We're going to pull up your chat. So let's go ahead and take a look here. Now, we're going to show here. We're going to take a little break for the question because I'm sick of this. I'm really sick of this. Ronald. So we have questions like what I like about outdoor evangelism is reaching out people and knowing that they will be in heaven hearing as a result of the gospel. And note, just to make sure that we know here, it's Ronald Deal number 0442. All right. That's his Discord. And it's the one that every time I log on, it's always offline, which is ironic and funny. And so we're trying to get a thing about a debate. Said, let me know when you are free, and we'll see if it's fetching my schedule. Will next Thursday work? Probably. Cool. And that's the last. That was in October 5th, 2018. Says, yo, I just sent you a message. Hello. I kept messaging him because that's when he said that he never got anything from me. And I said that I kept sending him a message, and he says he never saw it. Here is the evidence. Here is the message. Why? I mean, at this point, if you're going to say that I never sent anything to you, I mean, I sent it not just twice and then that day, but I waited another time to send another message. And if you're going to say you never got a message when it's still also at the same time saying, hey, look, it's able to go through because you're part of this Discord server, then I don't know what to say to you. I mean, that's why I think you're just a troll at this point. And I really hope that you consider what you're doing. All right. That being said, which reminds me, gotta make sure to. And by the way, if I find that we start getting porn bombed or anything like that in the Discord thing, then best believe me, we can already guarantee you that'll be part of Ronald's attack. So. All right. So make sure our security is there so that way we can make sure that we can remove the problems if there's any that come up. All right. Now, if y'all got a question in the live chat, feel free to send one. I see we have 7 people that are watching right now. All right. Let's go ahead and get to some of the Discord questions. And that way we can get along. All right. Wolves are cool, asks salmon or tilapia. Salmon, I guess. I mean, I don't even know what tilapia is. So go ahead and try. Well, I want to wait on this one because I know White Engine said he was going to come in. So we're just gonna wait and see on that. We're trying to also get the link out to all kinds of people to just come in here. In terms of like wanting to participate, because I mean, if you want to interact, then fine. Oh yes, Snow Princess. I keep forgetting. Let's see here. All right. Send you the message. Send you the. Did I press the wrong thing? I want to make sure I actually send the right link and not a fraud. All right, there we go. That should get you in. At least I hope so. All right. So we'll see how you turn out and if that gets you in. But until then, let's see if there was, because I know there was another one. Oh, yeah. Holy Spackle asks, what do you think Paul meant when he said be all things to all men? And what does that look like to you personally? So I've dealt with this verse. And the issue is that, he's saying that what if I were to appear, the context is saying like appear as a Jew unto the Jews and then a Gentile unto the Gentiles. So basically he's saying when interacting with some of these people, that by, ethnicity or even in these certain classes appear as these certain people, so that not in terms of paganized religion or any of these other things, don't act like a pagan to then get them, but rather to, if you're in the anime fandom like I am, be like an otaku, and then using that, you can win them over, just like being a hard worker or a certain thing to win other workers over. That's basically what you're dealing with when you have that kind of verse. So, hope that I was able to help out. All right, let's see what we got. Tom said, I never said you were. It was just a question. Well, based on what you have stated, it's simply a very rhetorical type of question that you're trying to ask, a very smart alecky question. Because, I mean, obviously, as someone who speaks out against child molestation and someone who has spoken against the sin of lust, I'm pretty sure that would happen. You can try, but last time it didn't work. There was no picture. And if you want that, I can also show that. But I even told you it didn't send, but you insisted that at some point that it did. All right. So, I mean, you can go ahead and try and hope it maybe works. But if you're talking about your Tom Hansen account, I'm not talking about the Tom Hansen. I'm talking about the Ronald Deal Discord. So, let's see what we got here. Yep, even looking on the computer, there is absolutely no picture. It's saying it's broken. Even has like that green paper thing. So, all right. Yeah, I forgot to log out. All right. There we go. All right. So anyone? All right. So if anyone got any questions in the live chat, feel free. Also, did Snow Princess come in? No, I gave Snow Princess the link. So if Snow Princess wants to, oh, her headphones broke. My goodness. All right. So we are gonna have to need more people to come in here because we are low on party attendance. So let's go ahead and get a few people in. We're gonna add. Oh yeah, I almost keep forgetting to send in Ave. Oh, hold up. I have to check this real quick because Snow Princess just got in. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Wunderbar. It's German. I know I'm stupid, but it is what it is. But anyways, do you have a question you'd like to ask? Miss Snow Princess?
Oh, no questions yet, but I do have an update. They took the feeding tube out of my grandfather's throat, and he is eating on his own again.
All right. Praise God. Well, I'm glad he's doing right. I was kind of worried there. All right. Man, I'm starting to get a little chilled right now. Here's the other thing, folks. The one besides that, the other thing that I don't like is usually when my rib cage starts to shake, and especially with it being cold right about now. It's been a while, and I never thought that the winter time would come again. Well, at least feels like winter, anyways. So that's why I'm wrapped up. And this is a funny attire, by the way, for some of those. Jeans and t-shirt and a gray robe that covers my entire body. So if people didn't think I was white trash, then they'll now start assuming it because of this. All right. Sister Hipster needs help. Hallelujah. SP. Don't know what that means. SP. That's some new trend I have not yet heard of yet. All right. Let's go ahead and head over. Oh, for the love of goodness sake. Where is Sister Hipster's Twitter? Oh, right there. All right, check your Twitter and it should be up there. All right. Let's see here. Tom Henson, did a Jehovah's Witness knock on your door and get you saved? No. Because if they were to knock on my door, I would say, Jehovah's Witness, you're the ones that need to be saved. Here's the gospel. And then I would debunk Jehovah's Witness. That would pretty much be my whole thing. All right. Let's see. I added several people into the chat. Apparently, see, Jesus is Lord is looking on Hangouts. So I don't know if maybe that means that he's actually watching or is curious as to what's going on. Well, it'll be something. All right. We have not had a lot of people come in, and we were really hoping for Snow Princess to kind of get us somewhere with a question. But hey, sometimes we got to take the train slow. We got to just, see what happens. And in fact, that's going to be where we're kind of just slowly getting people on board. And that's why, who is it next? We're going to reach for Veckel. We're going to try to drag him in because that's what we do. We go up to people and drag them into these hangouts. Because why? Because we are that kind of people. We're the creepy stalkers, and Snow Princess is our getaway driver. Absolutely 100%. What's up, Sister Hipster?
Hello.
What's up? So you said you needed help.
Okay. I didn't say this on my YouTube channel, and I wanted to ask something. Okay. So I came back from Louisiana Comic-Con, right? I came with two other friends of mine, but they were having issues with their tickets in line. So they said, you just go right on and head into the convention. Well, I did, and I was thinking, I was looking for the panels of the animated voice actors, and one of them I wanted to see Johnny Young Bosch, right? Well, I was already nervous as can be, so I had to take a deep breath and go in, put me a mint in my mouth if my breath stank or something, and I went on into the line. Well, come to find out, I didn't know my question would be, because I didn't know about the autograph thing being so high, because the con lady was saying that the autograph was $40. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I was thinking it was 10 or 20, because the last time I went to Chuck Huber's table, and I don't know if my question is, do prices vary? That was really,
Yeah.
I didn't know, and also it broke my heart, because I didn't want to go. I didn't want to be that person, that fangirl or something like that just wants everything for free or a handout. And I got out of the line, and I felt really bad. But then I also had people say some nasty comments behind my back, especially like saying quit being frugal and everything. So that
Well, I
really hurt
mean,
my feelings too.
Yeah, well, they just need to realize that sometimes, some people aren't used to con experiences because there's differences between people. Like everyone has something different. Also, I'm getting an echo on your. Oh wait, no, I'm not. I don't know what happened there. I think I'm just hearing voices. I'm going insane, people. Yeah, it's. I've been to different cons where, like, if you go to, I met David Vincent at Louisiana the first time I went, and at that convention, not only did he do pictures for free, but posters, I believe, were like $5, and autographs were free.
What?
I mean, yeah. So then you have other people who will do like a $10 autograph, and then someone does $5, and there's another who does 20. And then you have people that are like $40. And I think the reason why they mostly do the up price thing is because, one, they know it's good marketing, because for one, if you have a big name person like Johnny Young Bosch, versus people like Todd Habercorn, and Todd and Vic, I can guarantee you will probably have like maybe $20 or $15 for their thing, because I forget, but I do know that it was around 15 to 20 for Todd's thing when I met him one time. But for Johnny Young Bosch, he wasn't just your anime voice actor, because he's been in a lot of shows and is in a very long run series. But he's also a well-known name everywhere in video games. He was the green and the black Power Ranger, for crying out loud.
And I'm not a fan of Power Rangers. Once, when the original series came out, with the first few that were the first. Once that, I was a big fan of the Pink Ranger. I don't know why I liked Amy Jo Johnson, but I liked Amy Jo Johnson. Once she left the show, I dropped the Power Rangers like a bad habit. That was just, I felt so really bad, but I did get like a line, and he was really sweet about doing lines and everything.
Well, what line did you get him to say?
Well, first off, this was I said this on my YouTube channel. I wish I recorded it, but I was just so flustered and shocked, and also didn't know if that would be okay or not. I just did not want to get in trouble if filming was wrong or bad or something. And I meant to make it like a vlog. Well, anyways, he then says, his animal for Power Rangers was a frog, and he said it kind of like in his Vash voice. If you kiss a frog, I bet it would turn into a handsome prince or something like that. Oh my God, I was blushing. I had to turn my face. I was so red. Even in after the fact, when I got home and I was filming myself about what happened, I was still blushing because that just made my day. But anyways, Vash voice. This world is made of love and peace.
Love and peace. God,
I loved him. I loved him as Vash in Trigon. I really did.
I didn't know that was the same guy until you said that, and that just makes him awesome in that way, because I'm like, oh, I'm a big fan of Power Rangers and Trigun. Yeah, neat.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for clarifying that. I mean, that was such a very sad experience. I wish I could have could sit down and maybe talk with him or something. I know he's an introvert. I'm an introvert, but I didn't want to be that person that came in that line and be a freeloader and, you know, pick up the line, you know, hold up the line just to talk to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, just learn in the future that the things are going to be from people. Different people have different experiences, and different people are going to have different pricings for their thing. So yeah, definitely just keep that in mind. In the future, is you'll meet people that'll do it different ways, and so now you'll know next time you meet him that he's going to have be dealing in, you know, $40 for autograph. So, and I know that because I've seen the posters that he's in Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, and Arkansas. So he gets around.
Yeah. What I didn't understand is why the cons don't, like, you know, advertise of how much what is what. Yeah.
Well, they pretty much just leave that up to the person that's just going to go out and do it himself. So if he's, you know, if they go to the con, they're going to bring that little thing, and it's usually at a table that they do it, so that people can take a look at what's been written, so that way they can observe it for themselves. So yeah. But anyways, you know, I hope next time you go, you have a better experience. But hey, I mean, you did have fun at least, right?
Yeah, I had fun. My friend was a first timer. They've never been to a con ever in their life, and you know they're hardworking and been beat down by the world, but they keep a happy face anyways. So they had a blast, and they'll want to do it next time. It's just that the tickets were really difficult. Like, they were online and they're not tech savvy, so they ended up having to go back and forth between the ticket line and the actual line to get in. And one person said they could help you there, and they're like, no, go back in the other line. It was a hot mess.
Yeah. Well, it'll definitely be so whenever you get to some of these things. That's for sure. That's my experience, I've learned. Oh, in the world. Israeli is a apartheid racist country that's fraudulent. Okay. Yeah, just another bunch of the Ronald show.
Oh, Ronald show. Ronald McDonald. In clown form.
Well, I mean, that is what he is. I mean, he wants to go and start lying on certain things and can't even get a picture on to back up his claim. Then, I mean, I'm just done with the guy. It's official that he is a troll. I try to give him the benefit of a doubt. I sent him messages multiple times, and he still says I didn't message him. So
some people don't change.
So apparently he managed to break free from Snow Princess's thing, from putting him in timeout, and now he's just saying, "Why defending racism?" It's not. It's just that, sir, you're the one that's just making all kinds of claims.
You're a special snowflake. Get off and get lost. Get a life. Go pet a cat. Go hug a dog. Go tell your mom you love her or something to get attention.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, that's why I'm not even going to just give him the link anymore. It's because, you know, I think that I'm still under the belief that he was the one that was responsible for us getting all them porn images blasted on our Discord server a few weeks ago. So
I wasn't even paying attention.
Yeah, good thing you weren't, because some of those images were just flat out disturbing.
I'm happy I dodged that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, some of y'all in the live chat, what the heck are y'all doing? You gotta ask some questions. This is Ask RC Apologist. I love the conversation, but make sure to keep it up and keep it going. Full speed. Wait a minute. Okay, yeah. See, we do have at least one question from Logan. I keep forgetting that Logan's logo is a lot different than the one on Discord, so that's where I keep missing him. Alrighty then. Do you have an opinion? This is from Logan. Do you have an opinion on Hermant Meta? Probably spelled that wrong. I mean, I probably would have spelled it wrong too. Also known as the Friendly Atheist. I mean, I like that he at least is trying to deal with certain things. And I at least love that he's trying to be like a friendly atheist, as it says. So he's not trying to go out on a bashing spree and wisdom thing. So what I see, though, is still some errors, of course, because he tells us that we can do certain things, or that it's wrong to do these certain things, and I think there's the problem. Is that, we're engaging in certain fallacies and such, but I don't really think that's the case. So one thing I just don't, I tune off every time it's the politics thing, because I mean, politics is just something that I don't really care much into or get much into suit with. But I think, but I think the main thing is that he deals a lot with your village type of Christian. So you have some of the people that are just simply not as well read on the Bible, and as a result, you're dealing with people who are, could be people that say, for example, you have at least answers in Genesis that recognize that dinosaurs existed, and they're trying to work a way to solve that. But then you have, of course, some of the people who are the village Christians that say the dinosaurs don't exist. God put them skeletons there to test our faith. Yet you won't find none of that anywhere within the Bible in terms of that idea or that solution. And so, when you have people like that is the kind of people that he would deal with, instead of the apologists in the actual scholarly academia world. I mean, then sure, it's easy to make videos that are going to go against certain things, but I think that in order for him to engage in this stuff, maybe he should go against somebody like Heiser or James White or Craig Blomberg. I mean, when you make a claim against Christianity, especially in terms of history and theology, then at least deal with people who are well researched into that field, or are good apologists that have had experiences of research and debate on the matter, that we get that. And I don't see that being done usually whenever we engage this. Instead, they just simply go after some of those that are, small sects, small people that are just, not exactly as put out there. So yeah. Also, welcome to. Oh, did we lose him? I was immediately about to announce him, and then I see that JMD Apologetics left. So I don't know. All right. All right. So. All right. Yeah, I agree with Logan. For those who are in the live chat, don't feed the trolls. Just don't give Ronald any attention, and he'll go away. All right, let's go ahead and look around, see if I got any questions. I see we got Remy that's in here. So, what's up, Rem boy? I'm gonna just shut up before I regret saying something else that may make the situation worse with that term, but I digress. All right, so let's see here. No Discord or live chat. So we're going to start over from the beginning, and with our friend, Religious Fanboy. So, Religious, whenever you're ready, take it away.
I was just curious, if you guys have had experience like doing cosplay, like either like fun experiences or traumatic experiences while cosplaying. By traumatic, I just mean kind of bad.
Just bad?
I mean,
Not really.
I haven't had
I had
anything.
somebody touch me. It was kind of stupid kids, girls going up the escalator, and I'm going down the escalator and they were touching me. I'm like, stupid.
Stupid kids!
My worst experience cosplaying was I've only done cosplaying at one convention, and it was the whole thing except for like a few things were outside. And if you guys read DC Comics, you might know who this is. I cosplayed as Slade Wilson one year. And to do color matching, I wore multiple layers of clothing. And it was bad because I also had an eye patch on. And like all the sweat coming from down one side of my face was going inside of the eye patch. So that was pretty bad. But a lot of people asked to take my picture and stuff, so that was neat.
Yep, at least that happens.
I had a couple of people that wanted me to do. Was saying hi, Chopper, because at one point somebody said hi to me, and I actually did the high pitched voice, hi. Oh my god! I'm like, and the next time I was like, hi. A totally different person.
Yeah, I know a friend who would totally like that from you.
And that was kind of an interesting, pleasant experience.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if JMD is going to return. Oh, snap. Almost forgot. I got to take my meds. All right. I almost feel like an old man that's like in the hospital right about now because I got a robe on, still dressed in clothes. I feel like an old man in the nursing home, basically, at this point. So,
here's my prune juice.
where's my prune juice?
I think I'm hugging a pillow right now.
You're hugging a pillow.
Yeah, I'm sitting on my bed and I'm like surrounded by like sheets and blankets and I'm hugging a pillow.
Well then.
Like it's just like regular plain white pillow.
Well, just don't destroy the pillow. As long as it's a regular pillow and not one of them weird body pillow things that I wish I haven't seen at anime conventions, but unfortunately those get scarred for life in your mental image.
Me too, friend.
Yep.
I haven't seen them at conventions, but I know of them.
Can you get a body pillow for, practical reasons?
Like what?
Like I wanted a Sailor Pluto body pillow. I like Sailor Pluto, but I want to hug it at night. It's not sexual in nature. I'm just a fan.
All right. I mean, I think if you can find an artist who will do it, I think they'll most likely do that. So
I seen one in my regular local comic shop, and they're like, they have one of them with bras and panties on. I'm like, what? I feel my childhood is ruined.
my goodness. All right, let's try to move on to Snow Princess. See if she's got a question since we had to skip her last time. The Princess of Snow, are you there?
Are you too busy throwing glitter?
I'm here. I wish. Throwing glitter would be easier.
Fair point. Do you have a question?
So, when God says not to go against Israel, do you believe that he is talking about the Jews that follow him, or the place, or both?
So when God says to not go against Israel, on what verse are you referring to specifically? Hello?
I was in the middle of looking it up.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it depends, of course, on the context. I mean, I think mostly when it refers to Israel, it refers to like the Israelites. Yeah, because it would group them by when it refers to a nation or a leader of the nation, then that usually then can refer to the group of people themselves. So, it kind of depends on what's the context and what's being discussed. So.
I don't remember exactly. Sorry.
Well, I'll just assume that you mean, just like I said, consider context, and if it is, addressing and sounds like a context of a nation, it's talking about the nation Israel, then it's referring to the people that are within that vicinity, and that is usually the people who is known as the Israelites. It's referring to the people known as Israelites who were from there and who are of that tribe and such. So you have the tribes of Israel and such. So yeah, that's what you're dealing with.
Not that exhilarating. I'm sorry.
And we got Tom Henson in the chat saying, "Can I be an artist?" And that he wants to know from Sister Hipster if he can draw her.
That'll be $100.
Hey, you were complaining about Johnny's price, man. For drawing you, it's just like go 100.
I'm thinking
Gotta get them royalties.
Something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think at this point that's where he's definitely trying to get attention at this point. All right. All right, so we got no Twitter, Discord. Let's go ahead and go to Sister then real quick. Sister, do you got another question?
Let me see. Um. mm, what? I kind of been feeling a little bit off for the past few weeks, and probably been a month to a year, and it's been kind of like I don't feel like my walk with God is as good as it used to be, and here lately it's kind of been on and off. And some of it's just work and me always kind of worrying about finances, one. And I seem to focus on and throw myself into my work a lot. As well as, play too much on the computer and stuff like that, which I probably need to cut back on. But I do use it for business, so I guess my question would be, how can you build up that dry spell?
Build up the dry spell?
Yeah.
What you mean?
Like, like people's walk with God seems to be either like, in a dry season or something like that. That's how people usually describe it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I would say, read some theology books or read something that at the Christian bookstore, whether it be Christian fiction or some, books that tackle a theological issue that one of which you'd also may be struggling with, like prayer and such. These would be things that would be helpful and have helped me in times where I've had something like that. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for your question there. All right. We definitely gotta get... There's 9 people watching, but yet I'm seeing like only like 3 or 4 people that are typing in. I will at least answer Logan's question, since apparently he did ask one a while back. He's saying that what are my thoughts on Unitarianism? Oh, what are my thoughts? I think it's false. I think it's unbiblical and not true. I think that's my thing with Unitarianism, and it flies in the face against sound biblical teaching and sound biblical doctrine. So those would be my thoughts on this Unitarianism, for it is a disgusting doctrine, my friend. And that's just saying it with some dramatization. Also, for those who've been wondering where Ave is, I gave him the link. It just might take time because he's a busy, busy boy. He is our Ave, after all. All right. Let's see. Okay. Here we go with CA 9 people equals 5 on G plus and 4 visiting logged out. Well, good point there. Well, this is why people just need to go ahead and make an account or something. That way they can ask questions. All right. Let's see. What's next? Genesis 1:4, God separates the light from the darkness. I'm yawning because it is part of human nature. I hate myself. Day 1 of creation week. And in Genesis 1:18, God assigns the task of separating the light from the darkness. Such. So question, why do you feel the need to separate light from the darkness twice? The issue is that not of simply separating it twice, but rather he's saying that there is a barrier that gets separated. So one, he separates, it makes the distinction that there's a light and there's a darkness. There's the separation at first. And then the next separation that is made, this is something that I was told by in terms of from my friend Rob of Sentinel Apologetics, is that the second separation is basically the clouds being removed and moved, so that way that they're no longer veiled, but they're revealed. The sun and the moon, and the light and the darkness. So that's why we see those 2 specific accounts, or 2 specific things mentioned there. Thank you for your question. And as I said before, I'm going to ignore about almost anything, keyword almost anything, from Ronald Deal at this point. Yep, that's right. We're just going to keep calling Tommy Boy Ronald. Also, speaking of Ronald, I'm hungry and I want a cheeseburger. So, if anyone is able to help me out with that, feel free to do so. All right. We have another one from the Holy Spackle who says, we put our faith in God and not man, but all through history, those who claimed Christian in their name have had rises and falls. For the falls and the deep scars in Christian history, were it be Christian on Christian, killing, or something that is less extreme, how do you keep from being discouraged about sanctification and regeneration? In terms of that, I mean, I just view it as a biblical doctrine. So there's one reason why I'm not why I am kept from being discouraged. The second is that it's referring to me as the individual, and it takes time and it takes growth. Now, regeneration, that's dealing with sanctification. Regeneration is something that causes you to be born again. And when you're born again, when you're regenerated, you will live a new life and such, which means you will not be following after the ways of these sinful lifestyles, which is usually going to be accused from the Christian on Christian killings and such, because they are unjust murders. All right. So, yeah, I mean, there's really not much that I can go into on that other than, I mean, just, me being kept from being discouraged is simply the fact of reading the Bible and studying its word and studying the doctrine. So nothing in this world is going to prevent me from believing into what the sound biblical doctrines of regeneration and sanctification teach. So, all right. We've sent out as much of the links as we can to some of the people that I know, so that way they get a chance to come in and ask questions. But until then, we're going to see what happens. Ronald is just one piece of. He's a deal. That's for sure.
He thinks he's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's just a bad deal.
It's a bad deal. Yep, it's a bad deal.
Yeah, deal or no deal. No deal. Absolutely no deal. All right. I might actually kind of. I don't know how this is gonna go, but we'll see how this turns out. Because since he managed to unblock me, we're going to give a little hello to an old friend. And fly, get out of here! Yep, I'm telling a fly to buzz away.
You fly, don't
because I hate that fly. I'm gonna send Max Colby of Red Pill Religion the watch link to this stream.
I'm scared.
Don't worry. I mean, he has not wanted to come in at one point, and I told him I'd give him the link. But actually no, he did. But apparently, that was the thing that was blocked. So then eventually he had to go to bed. So who knows? We'll see what happens, and if that's the case. All right. Now, anyways, any new. I hate one of God's creations. What are you talking about? Oh, wait. Oh, it's talking about the fly. I am slow today. I'm like, this is what's happened. I need G Fuel. I don't even have soda. That's the thing that's killing me, is that I'm doing this show completely without, a sort of sugary substance or some sort of caffeinated drink. So I'm kind of spitballing this here and hoping this energy just kind of vibes me up. Now, I would probably
go listen to the Trigon intro.
Oh no. Yeah, there you go.
That's the only intro I will never skip in any anime series because I love it.
Who doesn't love it?
For me, it's that one. And have you guys heard of our High School Host Club?
Seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I met two people from that show. Yeah, I met two people from the English dub of that show.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I remember you earlier in the stream mentioned the names of Vic and Todd.
I haven't met Vic. I met Todd.
I tried to go to. I thought about going to a convention that was earlier this month in like Collinsville, Illinois, I think it was. And Todd was one of like the main people that was going to be there. But scheduling didn't work out for that. Main time I've ever geeked out at a convention over something was I went to one one year at the Superman Fest, and that if people are wondering where that is, it's in Metropolis, Illinois. I went to the Artists and Writers Corner, and one of the artists there is like a colorist that used to be the colorist for Batman comic books, like in late 80s, and he had like a bunch of like samples of stuff that he had worked on, and I recognized like one of the characters that he had in an image was the Jean Paul Valley Batman from Batman Nightfall. That's so cool because like you worked on one of my favorite Batman stories. So that was a neat and fun experience. Sorry for interrupting the stream. Are you? Oh, sorry.
Are you alive?
Ah, my goodness. I had it muted.
Oh,
I was
Okay.
not talking. I was like saying,
I
yeah.
was worried about that. I was worried about you there.
I
Yeah.
was worried that. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Like I said, you're fine. Don't worry about it, man.
I was just worried like I had like frustrated you so.
No, you never frustrate me. Hey. You never frustrate me, all right?
Okay, thanks. I was worried for a second.
Well, don't be. We'll be fine. All right. That being said and done, I had something pulled up, and then all of a sudden I forgot it. Oh yeah, I was gonna say like, I met Todd, and then I met this voice that some of you might be familiar with if y'all seen the English dub of Oron High School Host Club.
Right? Okay. Hi, Brianna. It's me, Honey Senpai. I'm just wondering if you'd like to come over for some cake later. Maybe we could hang out and we could crawl around on Mori. And I don't know, we can just hang out, girl. Love ya. Bye.
I don't remember her name, but I've seen her in videos of like Oron panels and stuff.
Yeah, she was definitely wonderful at the convention. I had a friend that was definitely a big fan of Horon, so I figured the best thing I'd do is just to get a little thing set up to get a recording for her, so that way to be, she'd have her moment and have her time to talk with this individual.
Aww.
So yeah, I mean, it was a good thing. I liked it. And she's apparently also the voice of Urika, I think is the name, and the new dub for My Hero Academia. So since
Oh.
yes.
What is she playing? Do you know?
Yeah, her name's Urika. She's basically the girl that can. Does gravity.
Uraka.
Yeah. Oh, Uraka. That's how you pronounce it. Okay. But yeah, she's She plays her now in this series.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then they had a guy playing Bakyo over there, and then they had another individual that was there. So.
I love that guy's voice. I think him and Clifford Chaplin are fantastic.
Yeah, Cliff was there. I think I saw him walk around. Like he was one of those like that kind of chillaxes a bit amongst us. So he definitely walked around and relaxed with us.
Oh, cool. Oh, okay. Someone who's a voice actor that's down to earth, and
yeah,
that's my kind of that voice actor.
There's a guy named Eric Cherry that I met one time that who he was like that. In fact, he even had a panel where he pretty much, it was called karaoke, and it was karaoke, but you flip a coin and then you call it, and if it gets on the thing you landed on, then you basically take it to either you pick the song that he has to do, or he picks the song you have to do. So, and I actually gave him that track that we worked on together one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's definitely a down to earth kind of guy, and I like that about some people. Is they'll just walk around the convention like, "Hey, I'm minding my own business. I'm gonna get a soda. Hey, fan people, back up. I'm a geek like you." So, but anyways, yeah. All right, so we're gonna give it a few bit more time for some people to ask a question. For those of you who are just tuning in and just joining us, reminder that we have 3 ways to ask a question, and you can check it in our description box, and in the description where it says, come in and ask me some questions. We have 1, submit a question in the live chat. 2, DM me on social media for the link to join in this hangout. And then 3, Discord questions on our Discord server. So that way we can deal with everything. And I mean everything. Why am I speaking like this?
Oh, stop that. No.
And then, of course, Ronald is still trying his best to ask me a question I'm not going to answer. I see Miles is still doing the whole Christian anarchist thing, and I'm still not going to go by that name. But for some odd reason, it just reminded me of doing like the whole, what was it? Hi, Vsauce, Michael here. But instead just put RC Apologist at that point. I don't know. That would be a creepy looking video, honestly, if you'd ask me. All right, for those of you who are just tuning in, we got about an hour and 50 minutes before we have to end the stream, which we might actually have to cut it an hour early if we're not getting enough people, because it might be just one of those slow days and we are being occupied by other streams that are going on. And if that's the case, then we really don't need to be making it too much of a waste for other people's time. That is, watching and dealing with other things. So we'll just do what we can at that point. In the meantime, I will be posting around on several things to get the watch link out for those in communities that I'm familiar with, so that they can, participate in some fun. And of course, the cancer is still around. I end up seeing a Discord profile picture that has a Bowsette for a profile picture. I mean, I like that people managed to get creative here, but can we stop for a second? I mean,
I don't feel like Bowsette is that creative. It looks like
Peach.
Yeah, I mean, it looks more like Peach and less like Bowser. It's just like, putting just horns on character's head. And I don't find that creative. I find that somebody want to fulfill their bad habit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So let's see. All right. Well, since we got no one coming in on the chat on the Discord, we're gonna go.
I don't know how far back it was, or if a message got deleted, but I just remembered that Logan asked a question a little while back. I don't know if you answered it or not, though. You might have.
Oh wait, no, there is a different one. Have any tips on combating lust? I was going to answer, but then all of a sudden I see Bowser is a Jew being probably one of the dumbest comments I've ever heard from Ronald.
Who's
Uh,
special?
that one's definitely worthy of a timeout. I'll give him that.
Who's special?
Yep. Just sit, boy. There you go. Be wise decisions. Sit and relax,
I don't know
Mr.
why you
Ronald.
haven't blocked him yet.
Oh, I would. But for some reason, there's just a thing that doesn't allow that.
I
So.
know they probably they check your channel out and everything, but like totally comment on your stuff. I think
Yeah.
I think you can do that.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead. Yeah. So how to combat lust. So as someone who struggles and deals with lust, I can understand it's hard and there's a serious pain and there is a struggle that goes through dealing with lust. So the one thing you want to do is make sure you put yourself in a position of doing something continuously, like reading. There's something you can do in your spare time. LARPing is something you can do in your spare time. Playing video games on the computer, having a YouTube channel, all this kind of stuff. All this you can do to help yourself be occupied and not so much, dealing with some of the sins and lust that is out there. I mean, that's the main problem in dealing with it. But the main thing, actually, to deal with it is that acknowledging that Jesus is your Lord and to know that He's got your back in all this. That remember the verse. He says, "Take my yoke upon you, for my burden is light." So and then also in 1 John, if we slip up and we mess up, realize that we can simply give it all to Jesus. Let Him take our problems. Let Him take our struggles. And mostly take our words. So that while we're struggling, we can, give it all to Him, no longer worry, and we continue to be sanctified and we grow in our faith. So, simply just try to start to do a lot more in terms of, putting yourself up with a bunch of habits, in terms of reading, activities, hobbies, as well as, especially reading your Bible. And then, of course, keep in tune that God is your God and that Jesus is Lord and He'll be there for you. But you go to Him and pray it to Him and you'll be secure. But you'll still struggle, but you'll at least be able to handle it a lot more without Him. You'll be able to handle a lot better.
Could I add on to that?
Sure.
Okay. There's actually stuff, perhaps in your diet as well, that I would also recommend to maybe cut back on. Everything has soy, and actually, soy actually makes you have urges. There's other types of foods that you can do some research on. Forget, Christian Man was actually was having a prayer request about that not too long ago, and I said pretty much about the same thing. Watermelon, dark chocolate, I know. Everything in moderation, of course, and soy is really kind of hard. But if you can cut those out your diet, I'm pretty sure that your body will go back to normal.
Mm-hmm. All right. Also, welcome, White Engine.
Hey.
Hey. All right, so we didn't get to your question from the thing because I knew that you said you were going to come in, so we figured we'd wait until you showed up.
All right. So why did throughout the Old Testament there's always violence around on every corner. So like the Israelites were brought up to be warriors. Like there's always this warrior imagery throughout the Old Testament. It kind of gets repetitive. There's always bloodshed everywhere. So why didn't God just eliminate the Canaanites, the Amorites, Amalekites, Midianites, all them? Why have the Israelites go through all that spill all that blood? Why not just destroy the other nations accordingly?
Psalms 115, verse 3. Our God is in the heaven, and he does whatever he pleases. Simply the fact that he wanted it to happen and be done this way, that is a sufficient reason, is that he just wanted it to happen to be done this way over the other, and God is the one who decides what will happen, and this is how he chose to bring them up in terms of carrying out this certain action instead of by his own direct hand, when he could have, but instead he decided that it is through them that he carries out his will. And that's
Like
what the issue is. It's about
like
what's God's
an
will.
all-knowing God would know how to get rid of the enemy while not letting its own chosen people die also and experience PTSD and stuff like that.
Right, but it doesn't. But the issue is about the will of God, and so everything that comes about in this world is part of His will, including the bringing about of the war and such.
That's pretty sadistic,
According to what standard?
according to the standards He gave us.
Okay, and what standard can you point at within the law that points that out as sadistic?
You think killing people needlessly is sadistic?
What do you mean killing people needlessly?
You don't think killing people like people killing each other is like
It was a just war that
wrong?
happened with the Israelites.
Yeah. Why do that? They were meant to be a kingdom of priests, to be God's representatives on earth.
Well, there are some people that were definitely priests and such, but there's others where it's simply to also establish what God has said, and God said that these people had disobeyed, and God was going to judge them, and He's going to use the Israelites to carry out that judgment. Just like in certain areas, God can use a tornado, an earthquake, or any of these other things, the natural evils that is mentioned in Isaiah, to bring about judgment and destruction upon people. And we see this within the Old and the New Testament, that there is we see that as sort of a destruction or a judgment that can be brought about on people.
Couldn't God just pull the Sodom and Gomorrah on those nations and be done with it?
He could, but he could have done anything else. He could have just killed us all because we all deserve to die for the sins that we have committed against God. But because he is gracious and merciful, he has allowed us to still remain alive with an extended breath. If God was to be truly just, we would all no longer exist. We would be dead, deceased. But he has given us that gracious mercy that he is going to give us a chance in terms of living our life on here. So to answer your question, it's about the will of God, and God, within his will, chose to do it this way versus the other way.
Which psalm is this again?
Psalm 115, verse 3, and there is another one that parallels Psalm 135, verse 6, where it says, "The Lord does whatever he pleases in heaven and earth, in the seas and all the depths." So that one goes into much more detail explaining not just the earth, but in the seas and in the deep places. So definitely says that's referring to everywhere. So, response?
Okay.
What does that mean?
Well, yeah, God does whatever it wants, but I don't see why a loving God would bring its chosen people up to be no better than their neighbors.
Well, the issue is that, I mean, no one's they weren't better than their neighbors in terms of that. In fact, the Bible says
They were supposed to be. They were God's chosen people to be a kingdom of priests.
According to the Bible, it says there is not one who is good. They were set apart. They were definitely set apart. But in terms of that, that's just simply referring to the fact that they revere the Lord as holy, and they worship him, and they follow the laws. That's what sets them apart.
And to be a kingdom of priests.
Mm-hmm. Right. And by what standard do you determine how kingdom of priests should be run? Are you God, or are you using the standards of God in terms of how it's run?
It's using the standards that God gave us.
All right. Then what standards then? Go to the text where it talks about how a priestly kingdom should be run. That is in contradiction with them going to war.
No, it's just to be God's representatives. That's
Okay.
so
And God's representatives,
being at war every other day is somehow representing God.
well, were the angels that were sent down also representatives of God?
Yeah.
But yet they just casted judgment and destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So by your own standard, the angels uh, failed to be perfect representatives of God.
No, Sodom and Gomorrah wasn't a battlefield where it was a quick judgment.
Right, and it was upon people that weren't engaging in battle and such, and they were still engaging in the same kind of rebellion that these other people were. So I'm trying to understand by what standard you're saying. You're saying the standard he gave us. I need you to be specific. Where's the standard come from?
Okay, how do we determine what's good or bad?
We know what's good, bad because the Lord has written the law in our hearts, and we
Yeah.
can see that instance of that law that is relayed in His Word.
Right.
So when we know about murder and such that is right and wrong, we know that it's wrong because of the law being written in our hearts, and that was talked about in the law.
So that
within
kind of
the Torah.
contradicts what God was doing through the Israelites.
No, not really, because the issue is murder. With war, that's not murder.
Wasn't it murder to kill the women and children also?
Was it murder to kill the women and children also? No.
Really? Because they were defenseless.
Okay, so they're defenseless, but again, the issue is that they are being paid sin. Then the nation did the sin, and they're paying for it. By that standard, then you would have to condemn God for the flood, because
I don't condemn God for anything.
Well, the thing is that God didn't send the Israelites that time. God was the one who initiated the flood and caused people to drown, men, women, children.
Yeah.
But yet you're saying that these people are in the wrong when they do something that pretty much they're commanded by God to do. But then when God does something in which women and children are not murdered, sorry, when women and children are killed, you're going to say that that's not wrong, that that's perfectly okay. But when
I didn't say it was perfectly okay, just we're in no position to judge God. I just don't think
why?
Because God's the supreme being and we're not.
Okay, and if the supreme being God is the one who had told people, okay, these people have sinned, I have casted my judgment. Go and carry this out. Because this is in his will. And that's basically God's decision is doing this. Not only you're saying that that's a problem, you're having a problem with them, you have a problem with God's decision and you have a problem with God's will because that's God's decision.
Would you be in alliance with that so easily if you were in that position?
If I was in what position?
The enemy's position?
Probably not, but the issue is that I'm not on the enemy's position. I mean, if I was an atheist or a Muslim or a Buddhist, I would have different beliefs than what I would have today. But the issue is which one is true. So, I mean, I don't know why you decided to ask that when, I mean, simply getting to the point that to answer your question, it's simply God does as he wills, and you seem to have a problem with letting God be God.
Oh, I just see like a more easier solution without having its own chosen people die in the process and go through post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right, but God can use post-traumatic stress disorder for things just like
It
you have.
didn't really change the Israelites. They just became no better than the Canaanites.
Well, I mean, of course, the Bible says again, there's not one who does good,
So this was
and
all.
we're all
So
alike.
the Old Testament was just a big trial and error.
Whatever you want to imply with that, but okay.
I mean, seeing how it resulted.
Well, he's saying that God committed error.
No, I said it was the Old Testament was a whole trial and error. It seemed kind of, pointless. To bring
According to,
Israel up only to.
it's only pointless if you think about it from an atheistic materialist perspective, instead of a theistic perspective that believes that everything that happens, including natural evils, suffering, and such things that I've went through, has a purpose. That it's not just some purposeless thing that just happens and we can have absolutely no hope and no reconciliation and no endurance, and it's just some bad things that happens because we're part of a random small space bit in the cosmic stardust that is planet Earth. But instead, we see ourselves as human beings made in the image of God that go through things not without purpose, but that there is a purpose and there is a part of God's plan.
Or bad things just happen, but God can take something bad and turn it into something good.
Right, but according to the Bible, it says that the good and the natural evils all come from God. Isaiah.
So why bother?
So why bother what?
With anything.
Exactly, why bother with anything? God just does as he pleases, as we explained in the very beginning of this whole thing, is that our God is in the heavens and he does what he pleases. Psalm 115, verse 3. So.
But the reason you hate Catholics.
No, I don't hate Catholics. That's a lie.
No, you always throw them under the bus. But why do you condemn them? Why do you condemn them so if God predetermined their corruption?
I'm simply pointing out the false doctrines of Catholicism. Okay, it's understandable that you would say that, but the issue is to understand what I'm actually talking about and to represent what I'm actually saying. And that is Catholicism is a false doctrine, and that I actually love the Catholics enough to tell them.
But in your worldview, God predetermined it.
Well, not every single one of them. I don't know who's predetermined and who is.
So
I don't know who's predetermined.
So not everything is predetermined. Then just select.
Everything is predetermined. You assume that in order for something to be predetermined, we must have that knowledge, when that is absolutely false and is a non sequitur. It just doesn't follow, because the issue is God has that knowledge alone, and he simply tells us go preach to all kinds of people, because that Catholic could be predetermined to remain that way and be and go to hell. But then you have people who have come out of Catholicism and now who carry out ministries to help us get away from that and to get away from Catholicism. So the same thing with people who used to be atheists and are now Christian. They could have been told, people could have been said, well, you guys are going to just remain damned, and because you're going to remain atheists. But no, for the case of Hunter Bailey and Robert Rowe of Sentinel Apologetics, that turned to be the complete opposite, as they now lead a Christian ministry and are born again. So again, for you to talk about the issue of the predetermination and reprobation issues, but yet showing a lack of understanding in terms of the doctrine of regeneration and such in line with this, I mean, to me, it's just not a good criticism to offer, or a statement to say.
Wasn't really criticism. I'm just skeptical.
Well, I mean, based on the tone, you were kind of being a little snarky there, especially when I corrected you at that point, and I was still trying to finish my point, and then definitely kept raising your voice a little bit.
I usually raise my voice when I'm being talked over.
Right, and the issue was that, I was trying to explain something that you did kind of straw man about me.
Your worldview is that everything is predetermined.
Right, because that's what the Bible says.
I was applying that to my concerns.
Right, but you mentioned Catholicism. You saying that I hate Catholics, which I said is a lie.
I don't mean you actually literally hate Catholics. You just throw them under the bus every chance you get.
Well, it's not that I throw them up to the bus as if they were part of the team that I was on to begin with. That's like saying I throw Muslims under the bus, or I throw atheists under the bus, or throw somebody under the bus. I mean, just because there are certain common things that people share in common doesn't automatically mean that they're on the same team. So, all right, we're going to just start back over the line, and then, of course, this will get us back to White Engine, but thank you for your question, Engine. We're going to start over with Religious Fanboy, then go to Snow, then go to Sister, and then go to White Engine. Which, by the way, for those of you who are there, I see also we have Kyle. I don't know if he's still here. Wait, I thought it was Flat Earth Friday, or unless y'all got done with that. Huh, well, yeah, I guess y'all are. All right. Well, if you want the link, let me know. And I'll see if I can get you in here. Where in God's green earth? Because I thought that I had you. Nope, apparently not. So that's a bummer. All right, I'll just send it to you on Skype, I guess, is where we're gonna do that. All right. So, anyways, that being said, Religious Fanboy, are you there?
Okay, yeah.
All right, what's your question?
Well, I've been going over chapter 2 of Ecclesiastes because I'm planning on doing a Bible study video on it, and I was just wondering what were your guys' thoughts on it, like if you've studied it, like.
It's been a while since I've seen the Ecclesiastes. I mean,
It's depressing.
Yeah.
I would just simply, be sure to treat it in the category that it's in, and that is it's part of the wisdom literature. So there's definitely going to be a lot of poetry and such that is mentioned.
It's existential poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Wisdom.
Right. So that's all I would keep in mind, as well as if you need to look into some commentaries on it. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. All right, thank you. And then we're going to Snow Princess.
What are your opinions on major archaeology discoveries regarding the New Testament?
I think that they just, again, prove out and further point out that, that the New Testament is reliable and that we're, in line with history in terms of our beliefs and about Jesus and about the church and about the things that occurred during the lifetimes of such. So, I mean, it's just something that continues to grow, and I love it, and that's why I'm glad that it's gotten to the point that we now have a book called the Archaeology Handbook from Norman Geisler, so that if you ever want to get your hands on that, that's the book you get. The Popular Handbook of Archaeology and the Bible, about 400 pages long of just various different discoveries and findings in archaeology that conform with the Bible, and it's just marvelous, glorious stuff. So I would recommend anyone who is looking into that stuff to go get it.
What book is this?
The Popular Handbook of Archaeology and the Bible by Norman Geisler.
Do you have a copy, or does our local bookstore have one?
I have a PDF copy of it. So I could send that to you if you want.
Yes, please.
All right, will do. All right, well, thank you for your question there. All right, by the way, we got about an hour and 20 minutes, so if you got questions, feel free to get them ready and submitted. By the way, Kyle, check out your Skype. I sent you the question there. We got a new person in here. What the? Huh, how did this person know about the book? If you check in the description, go to free Christian resources from my Google Drive. We recently just added in the new addition to it, which, by the way, we're going to show real quick because this is to help out with the documentary that's going to be going on. And we have here C.S. Lewis and
Pure
Evangelicals
Christianity.
Today. Yeah. C.S. Lewis and Evangelicals Today by David Cloud, a 35-page booklet that is full of well-documented research concerning the different heresies that Lewis affirmed, and then going over a survey of why Lewis is popular in today's evangelical circles. So
Heresies.
it's absolutely free. Just go to the Christian resources, and you can get this for absolutely free, along with the various other different resources available, including a book that I had written down whenever I was still known as Christian anarchist called Street Level Apologetics for the Lay Christian, and be able to have plenty of that and get engaged in apologetics as well. So, yeah. All right. Now, Sister Hipster, what is your question?
Let's see. I guess see, kind of like what you were talking about with History Net earlier, and it seemed like it's always been a pattern for you or something. And I don't know, sometimes it rubs me the wrong way. I'm one of those people that think, I don't think that certain doctrines is going to really be damning to people to hell because, especially if they're just, one, they're ignorant about it and they're just following people. And I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way to the way it sounds like it's intolerance in a way. When you call people out for like saying it's a heretical teaching or something like that. And I don't know. You get what I'm saying? I don't know if I don't know. That's more of a statement, but maybe I need clarity on what you're trying to approach. I mean, I'm one of those let live and let live, because we don't know what God has in store for everybody.
Basically, is his way or no way?
No, I'm not saying it's my way or no way. I'm saying being God's way or no way. And the issue is going by the Bible. Now, concerning the issue of, calling people by name, this is actually something that Jesus did, that he called out sin for what it was. He called out against the Pharisees and used all kinds of names. And he said this, and he did this in public in front of all kinds of people, calling them hypocrites, and that they're children of hell, and that they're sons of vipers, and such. And so
he gave them the scolding of a lifetime.
Yeah, and so I mean, if Jesus did that, why is it now a problem when we start doing what Jesus did, in calling out
who speaks for Jesus?
But that was different, was because they were putting such a burden on the people, with some other additions that wasn't in the Hebrew Bible. That's a totally different scenario.
Well, that's not the only thing. I mean, not only with Jesus. I mean, you also have Paul. You also have Peter, that are going back. In fact, Paul and Peter fought at one point. In the book of Galatians, it records of a time that Peter is dining with a heresy group known as the Judaizers, and such. These weren't people that were trying to add any books or anything into, or put the the Mishnah into practice, but rather they're saying that we must still follow the ceremony, the Mosaic law, in order to be Christian. Then, of course, you had the Gnostics. These two groups were both, by the way, considered heretical, and in the New Testament are both dealt with. But you have a time where Peter is sitting with this group, and while he says, saved by faith alone, whenever the Judaizers come in, he changes his tone and starts teaching what they're teaching. And Paul calls him out in front of people saying, Peter, what the heck is wrong with you? Why are you doing this? And trying to conform with these people. They are heretical. They are in false doctrinal lining, and such. And they're not the only people. There were other false teachers that came in as well. And were called out by names in the Bible. You had the 7 sons of Sceva in Acts 19, verses 11 through 20, Hymenaeus and Alexander in 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 20, Simeon the magician in Acts chapter 8, verses 18 through 24, Demas in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 10, Diotrephes, 3 John chapter 1, verses 9 through 10, and the Nicolaitans in Revelation 2, verses 6 and 15. So there are times that these people must be called out, and as Titus 1:11 says, they must be silenced, since they are upsetting whole families of churches by teaching for shameful gain what they ought not to teach. And then, of course, Titus 1:9, the verse before that, a couple verses before, a pastor must hold firm to the trustworthy word as taught, so that he may be able to give instruction in sound doctrine and also rebuke those who contradict it. And we're told to examine and judge them by their fruits by Jesus in Matthew chapter 7, and to call out heresy and point out the wickedness of sin, and that God commands everyone to repent, and that we're to likewise go and preach of this repentance to people as well. So there's nothing wrong with calling out heresy, but the issue is the attitude in which you do it. You have to do it in a way that is of an attitude of loving and kind, because what you care about is the soul of the individual. And that's why people usually assume that whenever we go preach the gospel, we hate people because we're pointing out their sin. No, we don't. In reality, what we do is that we care about this individual enough that we want them to go to heaven, and so that we preach the gospel that saves. So that's the main thing to keep in consideration. Just because when someone calls out heretic doesn't mean that we're saying that this is that we hate you or anything like that. In fact, the thing is, I don't even know if C.S. Lewis, for example, the person I believe had taught and believed in heresies, I don't know if he went to heaven or hell or not, because I don't know his last words. I don't know his last life. I don't know what was going through his head at that point, because you could have someone that could have a moment of belief in sound doctrine and such, and just for that for say 5 minutes and such, that's enough for them to go to heaven, because they put their faith and trust in Christ alone, and they affirm sound doctrine. So,
Okay.
all right, thank you for your question. So let's head on over to White Engine. White Engine, do you have another question? Because I know you usually have a lot of interesting ones.
Not one at the moment. I'll bring it up when it comes to me.
That's a surprise. All right. Well then, we're gonna take a look into the live chat then and see what we got. As I see, we got some new people. Non sequitur's not, or Kyle, should I say, is not going to be able to come in. He's been tired from chainsawing due to the storm, so I assume that means he's had to deal with what happened with Michael, with Hurricane Michael, because I don't know if any other storm or if it's just some coincidental thing. Yeah, he said it's during the hurricane. So yeah, man, I felt bad definitely for people having to have gone through that, because I remember when working at the station, we were, our meteorologist saying that anyone that's in that area, they had to get ready to pack or hold down, because it was going to get crazy. So yeah, just glad you're all right. But yeah, definitely, I know, cutting down trees or chainsawing trees is definitely a hard one. My dad's gotten tired from it. All right, so let's see here.
Yeah, he doesn't like me, but I hope nothing bad happens.
Yeah. All right, let's see. I had to scroll up a bit because it's been a while on the whole thing. And of course, Tom is. I'm just gonna go ahead and do something to, skim out the real comments from the false. So all of Tom's comments have been just deleted after I put him in timeout. So let's see here. I wish we could boot Tom. For some reason, it doesn't allow me that chance.
Let me see if I can do it. This would be so much fun.
Let's see here.
No more
But it probably won't happen because Ronald, his name, will just make another account like he always does. Yeah. Because we found out he's got like at least 5 other different accounts. So yeah, this is why I believe he's a troll, because he just makes all these different accounts. All right, so most of the comments are just dealing with this guy. So, yo, get me some questions here. All right, so what's this? What do you think about Craig here in Latino America? It's very popular. There's a Craig that's you're referring to Jenny Craig or something like that? Or what's the it that's popular that is a Craig in Latino America?
I don't know.
Might have to get some context from me there, Kenson Gonzalez. Let's see. Anything else? Maybe above. No, it's the same thing with the all that. All right. All right, and no Discord either. Huh. Man, we are not doing well in terms of the Discord and the YouTube live chat. And I'm gonna go say it. I blame Ronald. I blame the Ronald of the deal. Because of deal or no deal, I say no deal to you, sir.
No deal.
Yeah. What? Oh, he means William Lane Craig. Okay. I think he's a bright fellow, definitely a well-researched individual, and definitely trained in philosophy. The only weakness I have is that I think that the apologetic that he goes about is sort of an unbiblical one. Because the things I've heard this guy say, and some of this will be included in the upcoming documentary, since he is one of the people that is not only, recites to Lewis, but does have that as like the main influence of his apologetic, as he has explained, not in lectures and debates, but as well as in his writings, such as Reasonable Faith. And I forget the other one that's got like the picture of like a star man holding a sword and wielding it. I forget what that one's called, but it's basically like a companion that's up to date with Reasonable Faith to carry along. So it's that you have that as well. Yeah, so I mean, he's like I said, he's got some good arguments and some good stuff, but at the same time, the attention that he has in some of these things is just I cannot recommend some of these things to people, because what I see when I and I'm gonna play a couple of clips that are in audio, because we don't have the. I wish I had something that was run in the same way that Rob was able to do it, that he can play the video and the clip. That it's the audio is crisp, clear, and so is the video. I'm like, Rob, you got to give me a setup here, man. I got to get down on this software that you have. But of course, mostly not free either. And I'm cheap, and look, there's a reason I live in a trailer park, folks. But like, here is a series of clips from here's the first one. So here's a series of clips first from William Lane Craig, where he basically points out his goal in apologetics, and that he even states he is uncertain of God's existence. So here's what he says.
I encourage unbelievers not to think of the Bible as divinely inspired. We're not arguing for Christianity tonight. I haven't presented an argument, a moral argument for Christianity or even for the God of the Bible. You ought to rejoice in my argument tonight and just say, I'm going to be a theist, but I'm not going to be a biblical theist. We're not trying to disprove Allah's existence. We are arguing for a generic monotheism that is affirmed by Jews, Christians, Muslims, deists, and theists of many sort.
Are you certain that God exists? No. Good.
So right there, he definitely had one where Lawrence Krauss asks, are you certain God exists? William Lane Craig, no. And Krauss is like, good. So definitely kind of did a service and just proven an atheism.
Wait, did you play the rest of the clip?
that play the rest of the clip, I only have that specific part.
So you just selectively picked one part.
Well, I mean, that's just one part. I mean, if he's saying that he's not certain God exists, then
I didn't remember him saying that. I just remember Krause making an ass out of himself the whole time.
well, then that's why you got to pay attention, because there's a part where he says that he's not certain that God exists.
Is there a possibility that could have been edited?
Well, in terms of like the words that they say,
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, to make it
no,
sound
okay. They're pretty much in line. I mean, I've actually even seen that debate between Krause and Craig, and that's definitely there in that context, because they're just simply debating the issue of God's existence and such. But Craig just simply states that he's not certain. And then, of course, there was the discussion that was had between Baron Fryer. I forget what his name is, but he's a popular Catholic YouTube guy. He has a thing called Ask Something. Trying to remember what his name is. Hold up a second. What is? Got a PlayStation on there?
Yep.
About to say, because I heard might want to keep the music down a little bit because we don't want to get copyright infringement.
It's not really the copyright. It's just the menu.
Well, I know. I'm talking about like if you do play a game though, like because any of the music or the audio from that there are sometimes where people will try to get something. But oh yeah, it's a Friar Baron. Yeah, Friar Baron's his name. So it's a discussion between William Lane Craig and Friar Baron, and then here's what Craig says in the middle of the discussion.
Had you invited me to come here this evening to participate in a Catholic Protestant debate, I wouldn't have come. I don't have any interest in internecine battles between Christians. I doubt that public debates at this time is a useful exercise.
And there's what, of course, I would disagree, because again, as I actually just got done interviewing for the movie coming up with Brother Jay, of the former Black Hebrew Israelite of IUIC, now turned Christian hip hop artist, working on his album of the Black Hebrew Israelite Project, in which it's an album dealing with and refuting and dissing the Black Hebrew Israelites, specifically IUIC, and which he used to be a member of. And during that documentary, he pointed out that Catholics are definitely on opposite sides on the Christians debate and what we're doing and engaging in apologetics. We have totally separate goals, and so we have a different gospel, and that's why we have to engage with them to also include them in the same effort of trying to reach and witness to, just like what we do in witnessing to atheists, that we have to treat them both as people who need the gospel. So, I mean, and there's a main reason for that is because of the views of justification and the views of, how is one justified? That's definitely the main thing. And then the final authority on matters of faith and doctrine. So these are the things that I think are important based on what the scriptures stated, as well as what the early church had stated as well. So that's what I would take concern with when it comes to Craig. But other than that, is he a good philosopher and such? I would agree that yes, he is indeed a good philosopher. All right.
He used to be atheist's favorite punching bag before they started targeting Jordan Peterson.
Mm-hmm. Right. I have no doubt about that. Yeah, I agree. Kenson Gonzalez definitely brings it out there. They are apparently neutral statements to prove his argument, but his neutrality denies biblical principles. It is dangerous. Absolutely. I agree. There's where definitely some of the worry should be, that his neutrality, saying that, there's the whole, which is, by the way, a myth. There is no neutrality on the issue. You're either against Jesus or you're for him. That was from Jesus himself. You're either for him or you're against him. There is no neutrality.
Or you don't know.
Well, no, everyone knows God exists.
But not
Who's
everybody
neutral?
knows that. Not everybody
Peterson?
knows that Jesus is God's mouthpiece.
No, Peterson's not neutral.
Who's he saying is neutral? William Lane Craig?
Basically, basically, what William Lane Craig is basically saying is that there is a neutrality issue, that there's not a for and against thing, but it's rather a neutrality aspect. That, that's why we're trying to say that, let's agree that you don't believe God exists and such. And that's the neutral ground, is that it's that point trying to prove it, and that's the neutral ground to prove God's existence, when in reality all men know God exists, including the people that supposedly say that they don't know God exists.
You might want to have a conversation with Kyle about that one time.
I'm pretty sure it's going to happen if he's definitely hearing me in the background right about now. I mean, because I've expressed that view before. All right. Hello, Athena. It's a lovely.
I don't have any questions. I just came by to say hello. Or I just came in to. Go ahead.
Well, no different than what I did the other day when I came in y'all's discussion with that Standing for Truth guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no offense, but it was way above your pay grade and mine. I'm just more interested than you. Sorry, I'm just more interested in it than you.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's for sure. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the people in the lineup here, because I think that's all we got on the live chat, and definitely haven't gotten anything from the Discord. So let's go ahead and go to, again, let's start from Religious Fanboy, since it's first come, first serve, order basic. And we'll go down the line from there. All right, so Fanboy, do you got a question?
I was just wondering, I thought about possibly doing open air preaching, kind of to do ministry out in the community as well as get exercise.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if you had any advice with that. I think I might have already asked this in a stream a while back, though.
Well, I mean, this is a good thing to ask, and in fact, I think I may have asked it either by you or another individual. But there is definitely before I do recommend anything, I do want to at least recommend a free resource that you can get in PDF, or you can have it mailed to your house for free. Open Air Preaching by Charles Spurgeon. This was part of a series of lectures that he did. I forget. Definitely, I don't think it's on here. Wait. Yeah, it's from 2 chapters of his Letters to My Students book. And it offers tips on the history of open air preaching, starting from the time of Christ and the Old Testament period to everywhere from Middle Ages to Reformation, Puritan era, Methodist era, and then the 19th century. And then he offers remarks and tips on open air preaching concerning hindrances, benefits, and all this. So if you want a lot more than what I'm going to say now, this is the resource you want to get. You can go to chapellibrary.org to get a PDF copy, or you can go to get it sent to your house, so that way you have a book of it for free that you can read yourself. This was definitely helpful for me whenever I started out open air preaching. But what you want to do for open air preaching is this. Number 1, know what you're going to talk about. Don't just come out there and expect to improvise all the time. Start getting some verses in mind that you're going to want to bring about. Write them down, so that way you have them written down in memory. Or if you have to, go to doing an expositional type of open air preaching, in which you take a chapter and read the different verses. And if there's a point that you feel you need to stop and expound upon it, do so, because at that point, that's when the Holy Spirit's going to come over and give you something to say. Now, since this will be your first time, I wouldn't advise people doing what I did, and that was just to start by myself. the best thing to do, especially if you're going out, make sure your church is involved if you can, and go out in a team. So in other words, you'll be able to street preach at some point, but then you'll have another time to have someone else come and do it. So that you could so that way you can switch and you can pass out tracts or talk to people. And that also helps build the crowd of who you're evangelizing to. And don't be afraid. Just, when you get there, say a prayer and ask that God gives you strength, and then just do it. Because as soon as you start, that worry is going to slip out of you. Because even to this day, I still will sometimes get that worry, but I know that as soon as I just start, it goes away, and I'm just at it naturally. So that's what I would recommend.
And it's kind of like another question about tracks. Like, did you make the tracks that you used yourself, or did you find them through an online source?
I did a bit of both. When I started out, I made my own. Which can be easy to do. And if you ask for the help of your church, they can help distribute and print them out. But there's websites out there that give free tracks, or you can buy tracks online that'll help out. So I use a bit of both.
Now, no, I just wanted to ask what you mean by tracks. Do you mean audio tracks or like
gospel tracks? Like pieces of paper that you give out that have the gospel on it.
Oh, okay. I just wanted clarification. I was like, tracks?
All right, so that help out, Religious?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, man. All right. Go into I almost forgot for a second. Okay, Snow Princess, are you there? Snow Princess?
Yes.
Oh, there she is. Got a question?
Just managing trolls at the moment.
What the? Ave, I see you. Get in here.
Huh?
Check your Telegram. In fact, let me just make sure that I send the right link. Wait a minute. Oh, wait, no, never mind. That's another thing. I'm going to do this.
Wait, hold on. Did I hear you say Telegram?
Yeah, why?
No reason.
No. What the laugh be? What do you mean, no reason, and you still laughing?
I mean, I don't think this is a time or place to to bring up that little. Never mind.
Well then.
Just watch me some Medicare.
All right. So, anyways, let's Ave, I sent the link to your Telegram, so just come on in. I'm still gonna be curious enough to ask Athena what the heck is going on through his mind or her mind, whatever wants to be preferred concerning that profile picture, because who knows? It could be as Bob Seger once wisely said, woman or a man.
I mean, doesn't really matter. I just like the the goddess Athena.
Yeah, but at the same time, it can be the way that it's drawn and the part that you cut off. Almost, you can kind of take a guess, at least from my perspective. But then again, I haven't had any sugary drinks, and I'm trying to make sure to stay awake a bit to continue the stream because somebody has to.
Always have an endless supply of Coke.
No, man, everybody knows it's Snickers that you need to have the endless supply of. That's the illegal stuff.
Coke, and by Coke, he means Coca-Cola, not the actual Coke. By the way, someone came in.
I would just get some.
Or both.
Yeah, this is A from Telegram, Athena.
Hi, how are you? Wait,
I am.
Female? What?
What?
Oh well, my character is.
It's a furry.
But
I mean.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Ave.
Hey, what's up?
Be careful, Ave will act way too adorable, and that's what'll cause your hearts to melt, folks.
That
I
thing he's
mean-
talking about on Telegram, my goodness. I know, man. I know. Yeah.
Hey,
Wait,
it's Fox Man.
He's a dog.
That's yes, I am. Woof.
Foxes are dogs.
Yeah,
What?
he prefers specifically canine.
Well, they're canines, not dogs. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
The dogs are descended from wolves, and they're dogs. So
Okay, before we get into a biology debate, let's go ahead and so Princess, you didn't have a question, or did you? Just want to make sure I don't skip anybody before we get to who we need to get to. I am assuming probably AFK.
She is truly a warrior of trolls.
Yes, she's fighting against them, especially Tom, who I'm just going to do a favor and put him in timeout for 300 seconds. You're welcome, Ronald.
The power.
You didn't even let me get a chance to see what the heck he was saying. Thanks.
Don't worry, it's just stupid stuff. Trust me. It's just saying like Holocaust never happened, and and Bowser was a Jew. I mean,
He's one of those.
it's just a lot of.
Okay.
I mean, you call it trolling, I call it banter.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys.
He's just trying like he's the guy that ended up getting my Discord flooded with porn, with a bunch of sock accounts he had. So.
I mean, to be fair, you shouldn't make it public.
What, you don't like porn?
I'm not saying what. Oh, you're talking to him.
He's asking me, yeah, and I say no.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's go over to the hipster of sisters, Sister Hipster. What is your question? And hi. Abe, I think you might have competition here.
Oh goodness! Should I just throw candy corn at people? Love me.
We'll do it together. Yay! I had to teach one of my friends that went with me to the convention. They actually had like two different furries. They said, "Is that a character from somewhere? Do you know?" I said, "No, no." I had to explain to him a furry is kind of like a group of people. But anyways,
that's cool.
So it's fun. It's fun to teach them new things. But anyways, do you know? Do you know the way?
Yes, I know the way, my brother. I know the way.
Oh, show us the way!
I show you the way. Everybody, proceed with me in the clicking, in the song of our people.
I can't click with my mouth. I would, but I can't.
I don't know. I snapped a couple times.
I should have snapped and just.
Snow Princess is the queen. She is the queen.
We find a way. We find a way to the queen. The Snow Princess is our queen.
You see the queen. The queen.
All right. Thank you for your question. For we do know the way. And I also do know the true way. The way is the Lord. John chapter 14, verse 6.
Oh.
I know the way. He is the way, the truth, and the life. No one come to the Father but to him.
Amen, my brother. My amen.
That's the one thing I actually liked when that meme came about.
Strangely, he sounds closer to that than he would us.
What, African?
No, Jesus.
Ugandan?
I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
Right, that's Jesus, John 14:6.
Yeah.
Ah, that's perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All righty, so let's see.
I said he sounded closer to that than he does us.
Well, in terms of the words, yeah.
I meant the accent, but never mind.
The accent was Ugandan.
Yeah.
So he would sound like a Ugandan?
No.
Well, that's what that was. All right.
Never mind. You lost. Never mind.
All right, so HistoryNet, your turn.
Still haven't got one yet.
Are you kidding me? Out of all the questions you managed to come up,
Playing a game right now.
Good point. All right, then that just go ahead and knocks the question on down to Ave.
All right. Well, this is kind of complicated. Like, I wanted to ask this for a while. You know, it's something I've been thinking about. When it comes to the Ten Commandments, there's a part of one of them that says, you know, thou shalt not worship idols. Like, idolatry is, you know, wrong. So, where do we draw the line with having statues of Mary, statues of Jesus, you know, giant crucifixes hanging on churches?
Hold on. Before you answer that,
where do we draw the line with that, though? Like,
before you answer that, remind me that I have a question pertaining to the Ten Commandments.
Okay, sure thing.
But
All
yeah,
right,
I mean, but is that idolatry? And then you compare this to Islam, which never actually portrays the Prophet Muhammad in any type of visual manner. I'm not sure if they got it right or not.
Well, and that's where there is a bit of a debate that was had there, because there was some that were still, you know, for example, some of the Lutherans and such would have these statues and such, or not statues, but they would have, like, you know, paintings and depictions and such. But by the time you have the Calvinists that come in, that's when you find that they kind of, when they renovate churches, they would move that stuff, and it would just be chairs, a pew, and Bibles in the thing, windows, and that's it. They pretty much just made it look what was described in history as a basic, dull room, but with room for energy that was then expounded from doctrine. So the issue that I would say then comes to, how are we to treat these things? And in fact, I did a video on this, and this was asked of me to cover for someone I met at the Louisiana convention. And this convention with this woman, she was saying, you know, a crucifix, you know, isn't that considered idolatry and worshiping it? And it's not really, because the issue is, are you aiming your worship to this and think that this thing has like some sort of power and significance into that? So that's the main thing to consider, is that, are we doing it so that when we pray to it or have some prayer surrounding it, that we're, you know, worshiping this thing itself? That would be the issue. And we don't pray to a crucifix. My church has a crucifix depiction of Jesus that's made of wood, and we also have like a different artist depictions of Jesus. One that has him being you know, the white Caucasian version. Then we have another one that's a black Jesus and black disciples.
Yeah, fake white Jesus, Mexican Jesus, Chinese Jesus.
So I basically said, I even asked my pastor one time, like, why do you got, you know, that one there, and then you have a black Jesus over here? And he's like, well, is there a problem with it? I'm like, well, no, I mean, I'm just curious. It's like, well, I mean, I think what's important is, who is this man that's in this, versus what did he look like? And so I think that's the main thing, is that we're focusing on just the message, and that if we're praying to Jesus, that should be the concern. We're not praying and expecting that the statue or the crucifix or the idol or this thing to have any power. We're just praying to Jesus, and we're not praying to this thing, because for the most part, if you look into these, we're not looking at the statue and praying directly to it, unlike some of these other religions and denominations.
Yeah, exactly. Some people do. That's what I was going to ask. Like,
right, and what's that about? And that's because for the most thing, they call it depending on who you go to, it's a reverence, a sort of honoring, but it's not worshiping it. So they use a different language, but the thing,
I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing, was where I would say it's a fact. If it's just what it is, it's indeed kind of a bit of a worship, because you're looking at it, you're praying directly on it, not simply, you know, praying to the concept, but praying to the statue and the venerations in the icons themselves. by aiming your prayers towards them and being in front of them, and especially the things that is not God. That's why the main problem of why people were punished in the Old Testament was because they built these things and thought these other idols and the statue itself had power, but that was not the case, and that's what would basically be considered an abomination to God, is to do something like that, because you're relying on the creation as your God instead of Yahweh, and God is a jealous God. That is what the Bible states. So we have to recognize that, but at the same time, when it comes to these different depictions, we can have them, but if we don't directly, offer prayers to these things, or like say, "Oh, I gotta be at this thing in order to do the prayer." No, you can go to your home and pray, and pray to Jesus, not to Mary, not to any of these saints, because it's Jesus who is our intercessor, not Mary or the other different saints of the church. So,
okay.
Thank you for your question, my friendo. By the way, we got 40 minutes left, and as a result, we're going to go ahead and go to White Engine, since he said he did get a question. So, Engine, you said something about 10 commandments.
Yeah, there's a second set of 10 commandments after Moses smashed the originals in a fit of rage.
Yeah.
Don't you find that odd? That the second set of 10 commandments seem arbitrary compared to the first set of commandments, which seem like universal.
What are you talking about? Like that they're different? Are you saying that these two different commandment sets are different?
Yeah.
How?
Forgot where the Google up second set of commandments real quick. I forgot which verse it was, but it's like 8 of the commandments are totally different, but the others are basically the same, like worship Yahweh, your God, all that. But it's the one you heard, the don't boil a goat in his mother's milk.
Okay. So we go to Exodus 20 verse, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this up on my software, so that way we're going to take a look at it ourselves. Exodus chapter 20. So the 10 commandments are spoken by Yahweh. All right. And so we go to verse 3 to start with them. And this I definitely remember in terms of the verses we're going into. So, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. And this goes onward until we get to verse 17. Okay? Then we get verse 34, which talks about what? And that's like several times later until, he says he smashes once the verse it says he smashes the commandments.
After the golden calf incident.
And which chapter was that?
I forgot exactly which.
Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look. Then I'm going to try to look up golden calf destroyed. Because it's been a while since I've been in Exodus. That was the first book I started looking into. Okay, that was Exodus 32 and 34. Is when we have the incident. So let's see. 32, let's start there. The people in absence of Moses cause Aaron to make a calf. The Lord refuses to go as he promised the people. Let's see. Moses would come down with the tables, both on the side, and then, of course, okay, so this is definitely by the time that he, breaks them, destroys the calf in that chapter, and then comes back with comes back with a new set. So let's see here. According to the list, it says in verse 14, starting in verse 14. So let's see. But he shall destroy their altars, break their images, and cut down their groves. Thou shalt not worship no other God. The Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Lest thou shalt make a covenant with the inhabitants of the lands, and they go whoring after their gods, and do sacrifice unto their gods, and one called thee, and thou eat his sacrifice. Now take their daughters and sons. I don't see where there's an issue where it's talking about like these are different 10 commandments. Because for one, this is only reiterating a commandment that was mentioned, but also is talking about the issue of whose name is jealous, and he's a jealous God. So the issue is referring to that. And it starts, and we have this here, but notice that we also have these other ones here. Observe that which I commanded thee this day. Behold, I drive out thee, the Amorite, and such. Take heed to myself. So he's saying, take heed. There's a commandment. You shall destroy their altars. The commandment. Verse 15. So we go on and on and on. So I don't see where this is supposed to be, or anywhere where this indicates that any of these are part of these new commandments in a new set, but rather that they're just continuing onward with the different laws. So
let me look it up real quick.
Okay. So I mean,
so it's 23.
23?
Yeah.
What about 23?
Let's see.
All right. Are you saying there's 23 laws in these new commandments?
No, I said it's verse 23. It's chapter 23.
Okay, chapter 23. Which is before the...
Wait. I forgot what verse it was. Let's see. Which one was it?
These would be things I would be sure to take notes of.
Yeah.
Especially when setting out something that would kind of disprove Christianity.
Disprove it?
Well, I mean, if you do away with the law, then you're doing away with what Jesus' mission would be. And it seems to suggest that there's 10 commandments that are different than the ones that Moses was given after we have, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie, and all these others, that these were destroyed, and they didn't stay with Israel, but rather they were just, just temporary thing. But by the time Moses got angry, and very justly, over what the people did by worshiping the golden calf, that all of a sudden, they just, that nullified it, and now all of a sudden there's these different sets and a new set of 10 commandments. Which this is a brand new thing that I'm hearing, that this is in terms of a suggestion.
Yeah, I cannot remember which verse it was. Or which chapter it was.
But there's an idea out there that there's a second set of commandments that's different than the original?
Apparently, and that's definitely...
I'm not sure where... I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't either.
That would be kind of interesting, though, if it, were real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was in the other ones? Who knows?
Oh, yeah. Here it is. Okay. It's Exodus 34, 14 through 27.
Right, that's what I just said. And I'm after looking over it, you actually have verse 13 and 12 that mentions other commandments. So why not mention them, which is where the problem lies. And that's why I'm suggesting that if we actually look at all these aren't just simply 10 commandments, but rather these are more than that. And this is actually continuing and part of the 613 and the other 603 commandments versus the 600 and then you have the whole 10 commandments. So combine that, then you have 613. So I don't see where this is a new set of commandments.
I know it's styled that way. Do not worship any other god, to make a treaty with those who live in the land. Choose some of your daughters as wives for your sons. Do not make cast idols. Celebrate the feast of unleavened bread. First offspring of every womb belongs to me. 6 days you shall labor, on 7th day you shall rest.
Uh-huh.
Celebrate the Feast of Weeks within the first fruits of the wheat harvest.
Yeah.
Do not offer the blood of sacrifice to me along with anything containing yeast. Bring the best of the first fruits to your soil, the house of Yahweh, your God.
Okay.
Do not the young goat in its mother's milk.
Okay. And where does it say that this is part of the new set of 10 commandments?
It was similar to the covenant code.
Okay.
Followed by the phrase 10 commandments.
Okay, just because it's similar doesn't mean that it's part of the new set.
I mean, it's followed by the phrase 10 commandments.
Okay, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's verses that repeat that and over and over and over again, and other commandments in which they and borrow and use the same first starting point of the language. Doesn't mean that that's the same, or that's like a brand new thing replacing something. I mean, that's an assertion of with no evidence.
So, I think some have called it ritual dialogue or something like that.
Okay, but where in the text, because I tried looking, does it say that this was part of the new set of 10 commandments?
And I think it was in 34 verses 28.
Mm-hmm. It says he wrote the 10 commandments.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not referring to these specific ones, but it's referring to the other ones. Because the issue is if God was the one who wrote down the 10 commandments.
The original ones, anyway.
I'm on the other one. So again, you're assuming that these verses that talk about this is referring to the new set instead of what a lot of the people that I've seen and read on the material would seem to indicate is that this is just continuing. Okay, you have 10, now 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. They're continuing the amount of the laws. And then that's when we start, after a bit in Exodus, we move on to Leviticus. Then we move on to Numbers. Then we move on to Deuteronomy. So around here, this is where we're starting to get the showing of more laws here. And so we're talking about the commandments. Because no, he says here, and the Lord said unto Moses, write thou these words, for after the tenor of these words I have made a covenant with thee. Okay, so he's writing the words down. And then also he wrote the 10 commandments as well, according to it. But of course, there's also commentary on the aspect that it's the issue of that it is God who had written down the 10 commandments even after they had been destroyed. So, it depends on how you want to take it. But the issue is, again, he wrote these words, and then you still have also the 10 commandments that were just the same like when they were just, destroyed at first.
How do you know God wrote the originals anyway, not just Moses pretending it was God?
Simple because I put my faith and trust in God and know that he exists and that he is able to do all he can, and he has established his word through Moses and these others, and that without the Christian God, you cannot account logically and consistently for, the laws of logic, reasoning, objective moral values, and all that such. And so with what the Bible has stated at that point then concerning the issue of God and his being able to do whatever he wants, and then this happens, then, it's logically follows then to take God at his word at this, at least from my perspective, from my worldview. So
I must have read that, but I could have sworn it was something.
Mm-hmm. right. Anything else you want to add to that then before we move on?
Go ahead.
All right. By the way, we see what the got some guy named Dirak Ra, which loving the profile picture, and it looks like an some kind of Iratabi free swim club thing. Huh. Oh, who knows? Maybe something. All right, let's see here. I saw we had someone that you may be familiar with, Engine. We had an Eric Mackel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Watching this. All I saw in the comment from him was that he's on the weird side of YouTube again, which, after seeing some of the stuff that Ronald was saying, wouldn't be surprised. So,
does he want to come in?
Well, I don't even know if he's watching anymore, but I mean, if you can ask him and give him the link if you want. I mean, I don't mind.
I don't know. I'm on an Android.
Either way, I mean, that's why the thing is on the thing that says you can share the link out on there, even just by using your phone.
It doesn't work on mine.
All right. Well, if you know a way on how to reach him, then I could probably get it to him for you if you want. So whatever you want to do.
I don't see him on Discord.
All right. Well, he probably wouldn't say goodnight. All right. So let's go ahead and check to see what we got. Since we have Ronald wasting time again, and I need to make sure to see where the actual genuine questions are, putting him in timeout for a bit. So let's see. All right, so Dirok has just been engaging with him. David's asking, could we please start a GoFundMe for Ronald and Tom to take a trip and travel to the locations of the Holocaust? Hey, that'd be something. Probably don't know if it'll actually work, though. All right. So let's see here. Let me go to... All right, there's where Abe is. All right. And maybe where's it? Or maybe he didn't come to the weird side in that, but I think he came in as soon as we did the whole clicking thing with the "Do you know the way" thing again. That's definitely gonna have to be a highlight at some point. All right. And apparently Peter Frampton even said, "I show you the way." All right. Well, bonjour to you, Anubistan. How you do? Oh my sweet Jesus! I almost was about to have my computer die out. Oh, don't worry, I dodged a bullet, folks. All right, we got 20 minutes left, so if you got a question, feel free to send it in, and we will get to you. So here's what we'll do. We're gonna just go down the line right now, and if someone comes in with a question on YouTube live chat, I'm gonna try to answer that question, so that way we can kind of get a little bit of fire done. All right, so let's go ahead and go over to. By the way, y'all in the live, y'all in the hangout right now, definitely be thinking of questions as we start with Religious Fanboy.
Mm-hmm.
Fanny, are you there?
Yeah.
Fanny.
Hey, I gotta come up with something.
What?
Hey, where did Perky Lady go?
What was your what was the first, like, I'm curious if you've went on mission trips before, like either in the country or out of the country, and like what was kind of like your first like public ministry outreach?
That would be just simply my area, in my town. I don't I haven't gone to another country to do this. So all I've ever done is, street preached in my local town. We tried going into Nashville, Tennessee one time, but we just got stuck with local town area. But I mean, I'm not complaining too much. So, but yeah, I mean, I haven't done any experience outside the area. Also, I think Abe did get the pictures, by the way, Snow Princess.
Huh? What? Pictures?
Check your Telegram if you.
All right, I'll do that in a bit.
All right, because essentially, oh no, yeah, you did. It's the one where, of the wolf.
I'll check. I'm not. I don't know. I probably did. Yeah, I just don't remember at this point.
Yeah, you commented on it saying "awesome" with 2 exclamation marks.
Oh, okay, yes. Then okay, never mind.
Yeah, that was
Okay,
I'm
I
back.
thought she just sent me something like right now, and I'm like, what are these pictures? I wasn't sure what she was talking about.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right, so let's go. Where was I? So yeah, thank you for your question, fanboy. Let me check here. Okay, still no questions from our subjects of Dirac Ra, Anubistan, and several other people that are held hostage. Yes, that's right. Every audience member is actually kidnapped and held hostage against their will to watch this nonsense. Because after all, they are what they are. By the way, Snow Princess, I thought I sent you the picture. Oh wait, no, that was the Eevee one. I'll definitely have to send you the other. Yeah, we'll do. All right, so let's go here. Random music question: are you into prog rock? Only if it's good. Thank you for the question there, Anime David. Snow Princess, are you here?
Yes.
Question: do you have one?
No.
Darn.
Do you have one that you would like to be asked?
I don't know. It's an interesting
Okay, I
question.
have one. Have you? Hold on. Have you? Hold on.
Okay.
Sorry. Have you ever revealed why you're religious in the first place?
Yeah, I've had a testimony about it. I believe that I had, after hearing the gospel from my grandpa on Easter 2013, I accepted the Lord, and I had an experience where I had tears that I wasn't even sad at that point. I just a bunch of tears that are at the rate of like Niagara Falls, just like falling out, and I could actually look and see, because I thought I was kind of delusional a bit, but then all of a sudden I looked and got down to where I had seen them go down, and I actually felt the rug a bit, and actually it was like fresh, like someone had just spilled water and you're rubbing on it, type of moment. Because I definitely know that we gave away our cleaner, carpet cleaner at the time, so it definitely couldn't have been that. And this was just something where I saw the exact spots of where it was. The rest of the carpet was dry, but this one spot had it. And so after all that, and then thinking, because it only happened as I was pondering upon the gospel message that I received, that that was what led me to be a Christian. And that is why I'm religious, is definitely because I've had that, and then I've been reading the Bible as well. So that would be the reason.
Okay, well, I guess the next question I would have is why do you? Hold on. Sorry.
No, take your time.
Why do you think that certain people are born with an inclination of not to become believers? That they go through their entire life without ever believing. Even though they were probably born into a family that made them go to Sunday school, you get to communion and confirmation.
Mm-hmm. So you're asking why they're that, or
no? Why do you think that happens?
Well, I mean, I think that happens just because some people, either are brought up in a tradition and just don't question it, or there's some people do have a religious experience and they're trying to.
I think you misunderstood the thing I was saying.
Okay.
Why is it that there are some people who never believe anyway? They don't become religious. Yes, their family may send them to Sunday school and whatever. But you know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean.
I think it's just that they have a inclination that they're in rebellion against God and they just don't want to put their faith and trust in Him.
I mean, that's kind of a cookie cutter answer, but sure, whatever.
Well, hey, whenever I use a cookie cutter, they always end up turning out delicious cookies.
But here's the thing. Like, how can they be rebelling against Him if they never believed Him in the first place?
Well, they don't believe it. They don't believe and put their faith and trust in Him, but they know God exists.
Well, okay, but how could they know God exists if they don't believe in Him? I mean, they went through Sunday school and all that stuff, but what if they just did it to make their parents happy, but they themselves didn't believe?
Well, right, they didn't believe in the religion and such, but they know God exists. They just choose to attribute it to something else.
But how can you know? How can you know a being exists if you've never been exposed to that being?
Because we are exposed to the evidence of that being, that is creation and such, and that is why
if the evidence we're talking about is the universe, then well, I guess you did a crappy job.
How so?
I mean, have you looked at the universe lately, especially the Earth? Come on, man.
I've taken a look at it. It's kind of beautiful when you look at the pictures and such that I've seen, and especially when I've gone out and smelled the air.
If you call
Take your time. Just relax, man.
Okay. It's not, I'm just getting, okay. If you call a system, putting a system in place where animals are fighting for resources and survival, beautiful, then sure, I guess.
I mean, usually when we look at that, we get some amazement out of it. Yeah.
I mean, not really, but like how many people, like animals in general, like die every day, because they become food for someone else. Like,
I mean, plenty. I mean, there's also humans that do the same thing, that die.
Okay, but why have that system in place?
For simply put order at that point. They have a bunch of chaos at this point. There's also a balance of order, not just of simply other things that die, but also sometimes things that, for example, predators that are going to be able to take out a lot of problems, or not problems, that they're going to be a problem and taking out a lot of either people that have done things and such, that these predators also are part of that whole circle of death, if you will, in regards to that.
But I don't see anything wrong with this, though. I mean, this is how the world works,
Yeah.
Okay, but why? Why is this how the world works? Because why couldn't it have been some other way?
Well,
it could have been, but it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't understand the issue with what you're saying. There's a problem with the world because animals are food for other animals. That's what helps the entire world survive. Mm-hmm. That's what helps life.
I think you guys are missing the point. Like, why is it this way? Why couldn't it have been the other way?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Another way?
It could be any sort of way. Why are we even alive? Period. Why do we exist?
Yeah. And we don't know God's plan. He could have planned it a different way. We don't know. It's this way because it is.
Yeah. So
that's it.
Well, honestly, I personally, I cannot. Well, let me make sure I phrase this right. I cannot wait to die and meet this God and be like, "Hey, buddy, what's up? We need to talk."
Mm-hmm. Oh, trust me, he will definitely have some stuff to say to you when y'all meet, regardless of what position you take.
Okay.
Sorry, could you repeat that again? I got distracted.
No, I was just saying that he'll definitely have plenty to say as well whenever you two meet, regardless of what position you take. Whenever you pass away,
I mean, he can if I lived a good life, what's he got to complain about?
Well, you're not. Well, by the standard of that, then no one is righteous by our deeds.
I really wish religion was never invented.
Well, this is just what the Bible states.
Yeah.
And also,
Okay.
and just simply common sense about humankind that we make mistakes as well.
I know we make mistakes. I never said we don't, but it's like, okay, we make mistakes, so we need to be punished for all eternity. How the hell does a person learn, learn from their mistakes that they're punished for all eternity? Well,
it's not necessarily a learning from mistakes. Here is the issue of it being, okay, someone learned, okay, don't steal or don't murder and all this stuff. They still got to pay the time that is done.
Yeah, but that's finite, not
Right.
eternal.
Right, but the issue is that there's still the penalty that's got to be paid. In this case, the penalty of sin, which according to the Bible, if you've broken one sin, you may as well have broken all of the sins. That you have all this, the wrath of God stored up against you, and unless you repent and put your faith and trust in Christ, you will likewise perish. That is Luke 13, verse 3, from Jesus.
Well, okay. Well, if that's my fate, then hallelujah.
Well, how do you know that that's your fate?
Well, exactly. That's my point. You guys. Sorry, let me rephrase. You don't know what my fate is. Like,
exactly.
Because I don't believe in God doesn't mean I'm going to hell. But you guys claim that unless you do, you go to hell. You go to hell. So the thing is, how would you know?
Well, I'm saying that the issue is that we know what the result will be, that if you die in unbelief, that this will happen. But I don't know if you're going to remain in unbelief. You could be a believer 5-10 years from now. We don't know.
I shudder at the thought. Honestly, I shudder at the thought.
Hey, that was what my friend Hunter said whenever he was like a very big militant atheist, and now he's co-leading a ministry.
Hunter Bailey, right? Hunter Bailey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know him. I've known him for like a couple of years. Well, actually, no, more than a year. But I know him. I talked to him before.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, okay, yeah. Hold on. I really hate the fact that I can't speak well, but
hey, don't worry about it. Like I said, just take your time if you need to. We ain't going anywhere.
I mean,
I'm going somewhere.
Well, that's good for your friend. But okay, here's the thing. How is he a militant atheist? Explain how you define a militant atheist?
Well, from what he told me, he basically said Jesus didn't exist. If you believe in it, then you're believing in fictional fantasies. You may as well believe Santa Claus exists. And
whoa, he was a Christ mythist.
Well, hold on.
He said, yeah, he was a Christ mythist.
Yeah, but see, there's this problem right there. Okay, he was, no offense to Hunter if you ever listen to this, but he was one of those dumb atheists.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? I personally.
But he was still in unbelief.
I deal with them on a regular basis.
Okay, but my point is that okay, look, if you take a historical figure like Socrates, okay, there are many people who think that Socrates didn't exist, or at least the Socrates that you read about in Plato's books, is a fiction. At a certain point, it's a fictionalized version. Yep. Plato Socrates may have existed and Plato may have written about him, but at a certain point, they're like, well, okay, was Socrates the way he's described? Like, you know what I mean? the same thing with Jesus Christ. A guy named Jesus may have existed because we have proof of men existing today called Jesus. So it's not too far fetched to say that some guy named Jesus 2,000 years ago existed.
Mm-hmm.
Like whether he was the son of God is an entirely different debate.
The point was not to simply just mention that. The issue was that was like how militant his atheism was in terms of his relation on the knowledge of on the argument against God and such. And so while he would claim to be against it and religion and all of this stuff,
I know, but my point, but my point was, my point was that he was a shitty militant atheist. That was my point.
Okay, and so, but he's still an unbeliever, and still became a believer as well.
Okay, but why did he become a believer?
From what he said, he started doing the research. He said that research and evidence and facts were the main thing that you need. And so when he started finding out that there is evidence for the existence of Jesus, okay, that's when he started looking into some of these other writings that are like Josephus and Philo and other.
Okay, so let me.
Hang on, I'm not finished.
Sorry.
And so
then he said it was the resurrection that convinced him.
Well, he had to be convinced of the resurrection, because you could just believe in a Jesus, which is what Bart Ehrman does, but to be convinced of a Jesus that resurrected, which Bart Ehrman denies, he read the New Testaments, and once he saw the conformity with what has been written in archaeology, and then at the same time focusing in on how the Gospels are in such harmony with each other, that he is able to then conclude that it is a historical account. And that is why he does do a lot of research into that now, especially being in Bible college and is soon going to go into seminary, working into history.
Okay, I have a follow-up question to that.
All right. Real quick, because we got to try to wrap things up, because we got Engine and Abe as our final.
Yeah, I just want to ask you this one question. You can answer it as quickly as possible. Okay, say you do the research into it. You go as deeply as possible, but you still don't come out a believer. What then?
Mm-hmm. So they believe in all that and still come out honest as a believer?
No, I meant, say you do the research, what Hunter did, or go, go as deep as you can.
Okay.
But you still don't come out a believer.
Right. So the issue with that is that I still think that these are people that once given the evidence and given all that stuff, that, they are going to be either probably because they're reprobate. Again, this is just speculating on what the Bible says and not saying that we know for certain that these people are, because these are probably just a temporary time that they may reject it and then later on they may accept it. But it could be that they're reprobate and they're gonna just, their hearts are hardened, that they just won't accept the evidence or anything, and as a result there's rebellion.
Well, that's true, but hold on. You brought up something interesting. Okay, their hearts are hardened. Let me give you the example of Pharaoh in Exodus. Yeah. Pharaoh was willing to let most of his people go, but God is like, "Lol, nope, I'm gonna harden your heart and change your mind." So doesn't that mean that God is the one that hardens, harden unbelievers' hearts so he can put it like?
Well, at first Pharaoh hardened his own heart. The first few times, and then later on, it was God.
Hold on. No, that's actually wrong. If you read the entire text, the first mention of the hardening of hearts is God, and then Pharaoh comes second, and then God for a second time goes in with the hardening. So there's the formula. Secondly, the issue is that you have to point out where it says that the Pharaoh was willing before then, because I remember reading Exodus and I don't recall a verse where it states that he was willing at that point. In fact, there was still some enmity between the two when they had met. So nowhere does it indicate that he was a guy that was willing to let all these slaves of whom were working on the pyramids and all that stuff go just for the sake of...
No. The pyramids were built 1,000 years before the Israelites were ever set foot in Egypt.
All right. Well, point is, whatever that they were being there for.
They were building bricks. That was it.
Okay, then that.
Anyways, just I guess get to other people. It is like 12 a.m. and I guess everybody's tired.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for your question, man. All right. So, okay, computer's being a little off the fritz, but that hasn't nothing I can't handle. All right. So let's then go over to White Engine.
I don't got one for now. Go to the guy who has the interesting questions.
All right, Candy Corn.
Oh well, thank you. I do have I actually did have a really complicated question, but I'm just gonna go to my second one, which is a little bit more it's kind of personal, but it's a little bit more broad.
Wait, his name's Candy Corn, or is that his nickname?
That's a nickname.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a candy corn doggo.
I'll just call you Foxhound.
What the?
I'm just a doggo. Whatever. Anyway, so my question is, what is your favorite story from the Bible? Specifically, one involving a like an individual such as Moses or Peter or Joseph or Noah. Like, do you have a favorite story involving one of these people?
I actually I have Jonah being my favorite story because
really,
yeah, because it kind of reflects my attitude of the gospel. Because I was basically Jonah in a way.
Really, you're not running away from God.
Well, the issue was the issue of that when I started off, I was like a sinless perfectionist type of individual, but not in a religious context. I was just saying that God, it was more of a selfish thing that if someone made a mistake, don't trust that person ever again. They're useless. They're scum. They're the lowest of the low. That was my mentality back then. And then, but I would say that Jesus was someone who would think like that, and that's why he was perfect and all that stuff. But I didn't read the Bible, of course, at the time either, or even pick up the Bible. And so one day you have the whole marathon, but going on. And hearing this with the testimony, I had heard the gospel and heard that, Jesus forgave even the people crucifying him. That's a lot. And then you have the Ninevites who Jonah is told to go proclaim repentance to. And he kind of hesitates at that because the Ninevites, like I preached a sermon on the entire book of Jonah. And from what I had gave out and did my research, the Ninevites were a nasty group of people. They even did a practice where they would skin their opponents alive and then walk around from varying towns with their flesh as bragging about their new trophies. So these were some sick, degenerate people. Like they even did a thing where they would pin a guy in this wooden tub thing and make him bleed and defecate himself in it so that he's left in nothing but that. These guys were masters of torture, and they were just brutal savages. And yet,
and impalement and
who was that again? Sorry, I was
just
that these guys were savages, the Ninevites.
Yeah. Okay.
So
then we have the Ninevites, and they're mentioned in the book
That's
of
a good
Jonah.
one.
Yeah.
No, they weren't just Ninevites; they were Assyrians in general.
Well, the point is that he says that he goes to the Ninevites.
Yeah,
that was what the text says. So, anyways, the point is that then he goes to it, and he's still hesitant. He's saying, because he tried to run away at first, but then he goes with it, and then says, preaching repentance, and then these wicked people accept it, and Jonah kind of throws a hissy fit saying, God, I knew you were gonna forgive them once they heard your words, and I knew that they would turn once they hear that message of repentance. I did not want them to. And then that's where his whole mindset has to be changed at that point, having to be used as a prophet for God, and seeing the grace of God work like that. So that's pretty much a change in our understanding of God, and shows that our human superiority, or in our human ideas, differ from God's, that God's is definitely more graceful and he's more merciful and forgiving than human beings, and that his ways are wise. And I recognized that whenever I heard the gospel and accepted the Lord at that on that Easter day. So that's one of my favorite books because it takes me back to the time I got saved. So that's one of my favorite stories.
Wow, that is fascinating. Yeah, and I love how it's personally relatable to you as well. That's great. I mean, some of my favorite stories, I mean, like about Moses and the Ten Commandments. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But there's a lot of other ones, especially like stories about Jesus performing miracles. I mean, I remember one story about how he rubbed mud on the eyes of a blind man and made him see, and I was like, "Wow, that's incredible." So, I have a few favorites.
Apparently, Apologia in the chat saying in the Jonah movie they slap people with fishes. What?
Oh,
He's probably talking about the VeggieTales ones.
Oh, VeggieTales!
Yeah.
Remember the David and Goliath one with the VeggieTales?
Yeah.
Oh, I love VeggieTales.
Oh, if he's gonna have to tell me which, because I do see a movie that's on here called "The Story of Jonah: A Lesson in Courage and Mercy." So he's gonna have to be specific, since I'm pretty sure there's a lot of different things there. Grilled or barbecued. I would prefer barbecue because I'm from the South. I'm white trash. Get over it, folks. Oh, by the way, thank you for your question, Candy Corn.
Oh, no
Hey,
problem, and thank you.
RC,
CC?
that was in regards to wanting heathens to burn.
Well, still, bacon barbecue.
What?
We need barbecue in this world.
Oh, yeah, we do need barbecue.
Get rid of grilled. Grilling is a bad option.
What? No, it's part of the barbecue grilling.
There's a difference. I'm from the South. I should know this.
Not when I do it.
Just like I know it is healthy to inhale gasoline.
Still smells.
Okay.
Honey barbecue chicken is awesome.
Well, everyone, shut up now. I'm hungry. Dang it! All right.
Want some sweet pork chops with barbecue sauce.
Okay, yeah, there was the VeggieTales Jonah movie that Paul was referring to. Okay.
Okay.
So we've definitely had an interesting let me just see if there's any last minute questions that are in here. Question for Tom. Okay, nobody give a question to that fool.
I'd love the VeggieTales.
All right, so
and that one cartoon from the 80s where these three kids were traveling through time and they ended up in Bible scenes. It was called the greatest adventure stories of the Bible.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's a Hanna-Barbera series, I think.
I really am hoping one day to get Apologia in one of these Ask RC Apologist things. I've seen it before in the past on different shows. So we'll not on here, but in other things. So who knows? We may have something set up. We already also have another person, another show mentioned, Bible Man. Who remembers that thing?
Oh, Bible Man used to give me nightmares. Actually.
How to give
that's fairly accurate. I mean,
I
tried watching. I tried watching it. That was the most cringiest thing I've ever seen. And I would say, I had a friend who had two young brothers, and they would watch that, and they were like so into it that the point it was like them trying to replace because they couldn't, for some reason they hadn't been able to see much of Batman and Robin lately. They were really just watching this, and they basically treated a Batman versus the Joker scenario with this whole thing, and there was violence, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And then they showed the thing and almost on point. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's just one of those things where it's just like, when can we get like the sound type of stuff instead of trying to be entertainment jesters? I mean, just some of the craziest things I've seen today. But anyways, yeah. All right.
It was the first comic movie I ever got to see.
There you go.
Just curious, have you guys heard of the Unbelievable podcast?
Yes, I've actually seen a lot of the stuff on there, including one of the recent things I've watched on there. Well, it's not recent in terms of dating, but is the last thing I heard was the debate between William Lane Craig and Paul Helm on Molinism versus Calvinism, which I think is a rare kind of topic that really gets discussed is between these specific two ones. You really don't see a lot of people debate because the only one that really popularizes it and really holds to it as much that's in the academic world would be William Lane Craig. It's since then got people that slightly believe it, but they're either laymen or they're just like internet apologists that really haven't gotten into these specific things. But yeah, it's a very good podcast that does a lot of things that involve religious, Christian versus Christian issues, Christian versus Catholics, Christian versus Islam, Christian versus atheists. It deals with the whole shebang bang, and I really enjoy it. So I would recommend if anyone wants to listen to a nice discussion debate podcast in the background, that's the one you want to get. Unbelievable.
Cool.
I will definitely check that out more. I had heard about it in other podcasts and recommendations.
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty good one. I definitely would recommend it. Well then, I heard of that language. All right then.
Oh, I'm playing the game. I died.
All right. So.
Oh my God! Wait. Okay. That whole time, that's what that was. I thought somebody was actually fighting in the background. Oops and F you and oh you are people yelling, and I was like, oh my God.
No, it's Assassin's Creed Origins.
Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, I actually thought there were people fighting in the background and having some kind of a civil disobedience going on. I don't know.
Just White Engine asking questions while behind him, outside of his house, two people are fighting.
Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe in the background in the same house. I don't know. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah. All right. So
angry parents. I don't know.
Since History Net said he didn't, I'm going to ask him again since this will be the last time opportunity. White Engine, do you have a question before we close off for the night?
No, go to the guy with the interesting questions.
Well, that's why that'd be the last opportunity because now we're out of time. So that is.
I had an interesting question. I'll ask you later. That's okay.
All right. Don't worry. There's always next week. Or if you want to ask me in private, that's always an option. Which reminds me, we still got to interrogate why Athena had a problem with saying Telegram or with me using Telegram.
No, we do.
That's a joke.
We don't have to investigate that at all. He said he watches Medicare. He knows what's up.
Yeah, I do know what's up.
Yeah, he knows what's up. Okay.
Wasn't Medicare supposed to declare war on the trademark skeptics?
Well, he is doing that. He is doing that this Sunday. He was taking a little break. He was taking a little break from the skeptics to go. He went hunting a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. He went deep into the woods. Very deep.
Yeah, boy. All right, so that's all we got for Ask RC Apologist. Thank you to all who have showed up in the stream as well as those who have been watching. We'll be back next week with another episode. And don't forget, I'm going to try to already go ahead and work on the podcast that we just did earlier with Aaron Fox, which will be then uploaded tomorrow. So if you want to take a look at that, the podcast interview we did with the Christian furry YouTuber named Aaron Fox. Take a look, get ready for that. It'll be definitely uploaded in podcast format tomorrow. But until then, also stay frosty, my friends. This has been RC Apologist. Take care.